Hello and welcome to the Rank and Flank podcast. I'm your host Finton. These are my co-hosts Ben.
Hello.
AJ.
Wood Elves.
And Mark.
Hello.
Today we're going to be...
You threw me off so much there.
Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say.
You're all welcome. Wood Elves surprise attack. Woodland ambush right out the gate.
Anyway, today we're going to be going over some interesting rumors in the Town Crier, covering the tournament we went to in the tournament zone, as well as upcoming events and the Rank and Flank GT. And then we're going to be finishing out the Lords of Magic ranking in the Art of War. We've got a lot to cover. I think we can just jump into it.
Yay.
Yeah.
Boing.
You're just on fire today.
So, Town Crier. I think we've got a lot of interesting rumors and a complete lack of news from GW. We've gotten nothing since April, was it?
Yep, April 21st is the last time anything was posted about Old World on the community site.
It's crazy.
It is a complete lack of communication. But there have been a lot of interesting rumors which we cannot give a proper source to. So take everything in this section with a bit of a grain of salt.
Lots of salt.
Yeah, lots of salt.
Yep. As if there wasn't enough salt already. We're a very salty community. But yeah, so I've heard a ton of rumors. I'm pretty sure at least 60% of them are probably wrong. I've heard stuff like, oh, all the books are ready to go. They're just like stuck in a supply line issue. There's like a production issue and getting them shipped. It's stopping them from coming out. I've heard, oh, they're re-releasing the Bugman's Cart. There's just different things that are floating around. And my general consensus is they are only existing. These rumors are only cropping up because there is just no news coming. So people are just saying things. And
Right.
that's getting passed around because people are so desperate for a nugget of information. And right now, all we are getting is tumbleweeds, which kind of sucks for the Old World community, especially since, it has took off and it's a popular game, but we're not really getting anything. I'm not like here to complain about it, but it's a bit of a dry spell for the news.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Like, if you think about it, we had so much released in sort of February, March time frame in terms of news, right? Right up until
Orcs and Goblins.
well, actually, right up until Dwarves at the convention, that big convention.
Yeah, the announcement. Yeah.
And then it's been crickets, right, ever since. My personal favorite rumor that I've heard is that things are so well stacked up at Games Workshop. The big problem that they have though is actually being able to produce the miniatures. So because they're using all the old molds and the old sprues and everything else, that it's almost like they're having to undo all of the modern production techniques that they've perfected over the course of AOS and 40K, and they're like, how do we do all of this again?
Bring in some old guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Rehire the guys they've hired.
How do they make a slaughter base?
Yeah, exactly.
Back in my day, we used to do it like this.
That's right.
I will say the...
And then we charged $50 for it. Yep, that's definitely correct.
They did.
You used to have to lick lead miniatures with tongue.
I will say the made to order stuff for Orcs and Goblins, the trolls, the river trolls. I think one of the ancient Ral Partha era orc wyvern thing. Some people got those within a week because obviously they made them in advance. I'm actually still waiting on mine. I think it's been about a month now. Now they do say the wait time and all that kind of stuff is up to 6 months, but I've never actually had to wait really at all for these. So whatever is going on, it definitely seems to be, at least from my in my opinion, it's like some sort of thing going on with their production, as you were saying. So
Is that a made to order item you have to order directly from GW? Yeah. I wonder. So I remember visiting the factory and seeing kind of how the molds are made and all that sort of stuff. And, learning about how the molds do deteriorate over time. And I'm wondering if, the first sort of production run that they did of these things, they did it and then they're like, crap, all of our molds have or some of our molds have run into, material sorts of problems because, we haven't done this in so long. Who knows? Like you said, we're all making shit up to fill the vacuum of actual news. But we do have some sort of news around, like there's a lot of data, questionable data from speaking as somebody who works with data for a living, but there's data about the tournament scene and about the meta and all of that sort of stuff. Ben, you were talking about some stuff earlier.
The meta is sort of stabilized. There's some armies that tend to be doing well. There's some armies that tend to be doing okay. It's not like there's a big drastic gap between any two armies, except maybe Skaven.
Poor Skaven.
Poor Skaven. They're stuck in the sewers right now.
Yeah.
But what I'm seeing is that sort of people, generally view certain armies as low tier, but there are lists coming out that are making those armies work. I saw there was one guy in the UK who's went undefeated at like 2 or 3 GTs playing dwarfs. And his dwarf list isn't anything special. It's just sort of dwarf warriors, some iron drakes, a couple of grudge throwers. So people are getting really smart with how they play the game.
How many gyrocopters did he bring?
I don't think he had any gyrocopters.
Oh,
but the question is, how does he beat Dragonhammer with cannon?
I don't know. I think he has like something like 6 static combat res on his big unit of dwarfs. So I think if they run into that, and he's got the Trollhammer torpedoes as well, and the grudge throwers. If they hit you direct, to strength 8, D3+1 wounds.
Yeah, okay.
So
and dwarves have nice ballistic skill, and they reroll their scattered ice and things. So
that's interesting.
Artillery dice, but yeah.
So even, I saw an ogre list that came like second at a tournament. So people are making these lower tier armies work. And to me, that's what I look for to be a healthy meta is, some armies might have lower win rates on the average, but if you're clever and you know the army really well, you can still make them win. So while we might not have anything in the realm of news from GW, we're getting such a healthy ecosystem growing within the competitive scene in England, in the USA, and in Canada and Australia and Ireland, and especially Ireland now at the moment, all these different places. So the community's keeping it going very strongly, and if anything, it's probably just growing. So I tend to agree with that. I think to me, you can't really look at the meta and draw any conclusions from it right now, for a couple of reasons, and I'll probably bang on this drum a few times over the coming months. First off, only 3 armies have their arcane journals, right? Yep. 6 other armies are going to get them for sure. And until they do, we don't really know how things will shake out. In fact, probably by the time they get their arcane journals, we'll get the 2nd edition.
Classic GW fashion. Get 1 book for 6 months and then we'll never play with it again.
Actually, we'll get 8 arcane journals and the Beastmen won't get theirs, and then there'll be a 2nd edition.
In a sense, doesn't that bring you back to the earlier days when you get 1 arcane journal per edition or something like that, and then you have to wait for the following 3 or 4.
Bretonians were still using their 6th edition book in 8th edition.
Same with
the Skaven and Beastmen were using 7th
edition books. Yeah, exactly. The other thing that I heard, only because I've been looking a bunch into Chaos Dwarfs, is that the Chaos Dwarf list used to have the Kadai Destroyer in it.
I heard that too.
And that they took it out at the last minute, and I'm very disappointed about that.
But why? Why did they take it out?
So
they suddenly got worried about big monsters being strong in this edition.
I do remember a lot of anger and saltiness about the Kadai Destroyer back in 8th edition with the Tamarkan book, is one of those monsters that if you don't know how to play against it, it will literally just wreck your whole army. But it had Frenzy. So the right way to play against it is just like any other big thing with Frenzy. You just lead it on a merry goose chase around the place and feed it chaff.
It wasn't particularly fast, right?
I mean, it was fast enough. It was move 7, I think, with Swift Stride. So, not too bad.
Yeah, you could run it away with dogs, for example.
Absolutely. You just chaff it up. That's what you do. Anyway, sadly, not in the game, but
And also, I think that a large portion of the market for the game is the people who aren't playing in tournaments. Like a lot of people play at a more casual level who don't really know how to deal with frenzy, and that can definitely lead to a lot of saltiness among lower skill level players.
That is a very fair point. I think for me, the tournament scene has always been the driver to improve my army, right? To get my hobby done. Honestly, it's not about the competing so much as it is somebody has gone to the trouble of organizing 3 games in a day or 5 games over a weekend. And so it's like, okay, I'm just going to go and get a whole bunch of games in and meet a bunch of other nerds. But I think there's it's in this weird spot, right? Where there's a bunch of old and crusty players like me who kind of played the older editions. And then there's a bunch of new players like yourself who are like, this is the sort of game I really want to play. And we're still trying to figure out, well, where do those two meet in the middle, right? And how many of those old and crusty players are just there for the hobby and like, hey, look, I've got 10,000 points of orcs and goblins all fully painted, but no, I've never been to a tournament. There's a lot of players out there.
There are a lot of players out there like that.
Versus, one of the guys up in Dublin who was, I think he was a 9th age tournament player as well. And he just literally has 8 or 9 armies because he went through and kind of just played all of the best armies or learned how to play all the different armies. So
that's really cool.
Nice.
Yeah. We don't really know what our community is yet, right? Certainly in Ireland, we're still kind of learning the ropes, learning the game and meeting everybody.
We are in like a interesting, our island is kind of like in a satellite phase, whereas I feel like maybe the UK community has converged a lot more. We have these little subgroups in like one in Wexford, one in Dublin that's kind of joined up now, and then there's the ones in the north, there's ones out in the west, there's the ones in Cork, and even there's like a Gory community, which is about 30 minutes up the road from us right now, and I haven't met those guys yet. So it's quite cool.
Yeah, and it's my personal mission to literally meet every gaming group that's playing Old World in Ireland and drag them kicking and screaming into an organized community so that I can get events that I can go to on a regular basis and enjoy traveling and nerding out. It's like, yep, I'm happy to do that. That makes me happy, and everybody else can kind of just fall in line. Thank you very much. We've gone way off topic now. Not that we had a whole lot of topic under this anyway. But
the topic was there is no topic because Games Workshop's given us no news.
One thing about the Could I Destroyer, though, just before we go and go on to the next thing, Val from Squarebase, he actually mentioned that as well, and he also heard, so I know this is like secondhand rumor news, that
that's what all this is.
Yeah, there possibly is actually, as has been hinted, actual rules for the Could I Destroyer somewhere out there, based on the fact that so many people are all about, let's just use legacy factions as main factions because no one really cares. People would have no problem, I think, if someone did find the legitimate original rules for the Could I Destroyer to just add them to Chaos Dwarves. I mean, the community 100% would do that, I think. So
yeah, we'll see if it happens.
Yeah, if it does, that'd be great.
Honestly, from my perspective, we talked about a little bit what are the potential armies that might become core factions out of all of the ones that have legacy lists right now. And to me, Chaos Dwarfs are actually probably top of that list.
Well, they're joining AOS, aren't they?
Are they?
Well, that's what the current rumor is right now. Chaos Dwarfs are coming to Age of Sigmar.
I think that would, from an aesthetics standpoint, like you really think the Caradron Overlords are more that sort of steampunky
greed driven. Yeah, I mean that's just what I heard because they are sort of running out of new factions to put into Age of Sigmar, and it's been on the rumor mill for a while that Chaos Dwarfs will be coming. So maybe I'm wrong.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe those Chaos Dwarf rumors that people are hearing are actually about Old World, and the sources got confused in the translation.
That would be nice.
It does feel strange that there are only 9 armies and there's one missing on the Forces of Destruction side. Chaos Dwarves, the problem with that is that it could lead to a lot of chaos saturation on the Forces of Destruction side because we have Beastmen, we have Warriors of Chaos, and that's already half of it. And if you add in Chaos Dwarves now, 3/5 of destruction is chaos.
Right. I mean, the top 3 candidates, in my opinion, and are Chaos Dwarfs, Dark Elves, and Vampire Counts.
Not demons.
No, not demons, because demons are going to sell no matter what, right? They're in 40K. They're in Age of Sigmar.
Yep.
They're huge, big centerpiece models. They're core IP, and they've deliberately set things in a time before the real demon incursions in the old world. Now, maybe when they release a Kislev army and they do a whole sort of Siege of Prague kind of campaign to get us all riled up for that, that's when they'll release the demons. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. But in terms of what do I realistically think are one of the or the first army they might add on is one of those 3.
I think that Siege of Prague is probably not going to come this edition of the game. I don't know that Kislev or Cathay will come in this edition of the game at all.
Yeah, maybe not.
I've heard some things that they were cancelled out of the initial pitch for Old World. Initially, part of the pitch back when we got this way back was that it would be all the Old World armies plus Kislev and Cathay, but then they had to cut back for whatever reason. And I don't know if we'll get Kislev until a second edition of the game.
I mean, at this point, we have 6 armies waiting to hear anything at all. So I'm not holding my breath on any of it.
Yeah.
Really, it's more just about wishful thinking at this point. It's like, what do we want to see happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also disagree that Vampire Counts are going to be coming next. I don't think that they are. Soulblight Gravelords are the entire Vampire Counts range, and they're all selling really well because of Old World.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they're also, a mainline AOS army. They're not going anywhere, I don't think, until they refresh the Vampire Counts range for AOS.
Yeah.
They're really big in Warcry as well, weren't they?
I'm not familiar with Warcry.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's probably... I think if I was betting money, I would bet on Dark Elves.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah, and maybe that's partly because you play them, Mark, and I just want to see you happy. But
It's a lot, AJ. Yeah, I mean, like, I just feel weird that Tomb Kings are one of the evil factions still. I don't know. I know there's fluff reasons behind it and all that, but...
Well, there's retcon reasons behind it. They made Cetra extremely evil instead of a fair ruler who just wants to conquer things.
I mean, they do say that he is like, he's ruthless, and ruthless often means evil.
They didn't used to say that, though. In previous editions, he was depicted as a fair ruler who was one of the most accomplished people in existence.
Yep.
Who treated his people well and fought his enemies honorably. Now he's some evil, crazed madman who leads his endless legions of mindless skeletons across the lands.
Yeah.
So I know it's a little bit back in the fluff, but how long has he been awake for?
I don't know how long he's been awake for as of now, but when it was the modern Warhammer Fantasy timeline, he was awake for a few thousand years.
Oh, okay. So he's definitely not just cranky.
Or a few hundred years. But the guy's been around for ages and ages.
Okay.
He was who assembled the Tomb Kings into one nation.
So this is Games Workshop's attempt at character assassination.
Yes, absolutely.
Tut.
Cetra is Cetra's lore is my least favorite part of Old World, I think. They ruined him in a lot of ways. But he's got some fun rules, so...
Yep, and Tomb Kings are a strong army.
Very strong.
Yep.
Really fun.
One of the strongest, I think.
Yep.
That leads us quite well into the tournament discussion
Yep.
about the tournament that we went to in Dublin, because I know at least, I think 2 of you played against the Tomb Kings list.
Yeah.
Yep.
Why don't we roll into that?
Yeah.
The Tournament Zone.
Alrighty. Tournament zone. So, we went up.
Sorry. No, not the Twilight Zone, sorry.
We went up to Onslaught in the Old World. It was an interesting event in Underworld Gaming. We each played 3 games.
Yep, 1,500 points.
And unlike in our last outing to Underworld, we did not end up playing 3 armies of the same kind the whole time.
But instead, we played each other.
Yeah.
Yep.
So myself, AJ, and Ben, we all played a game against each other.
Yes, and then we got one opponent that wasn't from the podcast.
Each.
And Mark, on the other hand, was leading the charge and getting his ass kicked by strangers.
I got my money's worth.
It's a good way to look at it.
Exactly.
You paid for that ass beating.
Every penny.
Who wants to lead us off?
How do we want to do this, actually? Everyone's first round or everyone's games all at once?
I think each person go through each of their games.
Cool, makes sense.
Should I start? Because my first 2 games were against the 2 of you. It's kind of...
Yeah, why don't you
Yeah.
whip through that quickly then?
So I'll speed through that. Game 1, I got matched up against Finton. It was quite a close game.
It was very close. It was a really nice... We played a game casually just before. It was basically the same lists, and we had a rematch. And the previous game was very close in my favor, and this game was very close in your favor.
Yes, I almost got through that big block I chosen, but then at the last minute and in the last turn, you floated them over behind a building.
Yep.
So I missed out on a lot of points there.
They just don't die.
Yeah, they don't die.
Steed of Shadows saved my ass in that game. I would have lost so much worse by like 600 additional points if I had lost that unit, but I just hid him behind a building so he couldn't shoot him with his cannons.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that I didn't get Steed of Shadows off once before that in the game, which is part of why you managed to kill so many of them, because I couldn't walk up the field.
Yep. Steed of Shadows is very much the linchpin of that list, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of hard if you don't get it. So I'm pretty sure I just shot at your stuff a bunch with my 2 great cannons, with my Outriders. You charged a lot into my Outriders and killed them.
I charged, I think, 2 units of dogs and
a giant.
into
Yep.
the Outriders. The
And,
dogs did 1 wound.
Yes, and then my steam tank got sort of stuck up a bunch of your units for a while, some of your knights, and it was a victory by like 400 points, maybe even less.
No, it wasn't 400. I think it was like 150 points. Like
it was a victory by 150 points, but it was almost a draw.
Yeah, it was like within draw distance, just barely out. I think I definitely could have played better. I could have put my chosen on the right flank rather than the left, and gone after your general and steam tank rather than using it against those knights. Because I assumed the captain was your general without thinking about the wizard, which was a mistake on my part.
And I had 2, and I did the same thing in my game against you, AJ. I had 2 cannons clipped into a forest, which is a very sort of cheeky way to play, because they were technically in the forest, but then you were also clipping stuff into a forest, so it's not as bad.
Yeah, but you had a forest in your deployment zone, and I did not.
Yeah.
And your deployment zone, you stuck 2 cannons in it, and I couldn't do anything to hide from them the whole game. Because there were, 4 pieces of terrain on the whole board.
Yes, but it was a really fun game. We have to... Is it called a rubber match, where you have, like, you win one, and then you have, like, the deciding match?
That's right.
Game 3. Yeah, we need to have that.
That is a bridge term, believe it or not.
Is that from Bridge?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Anyway, I felt like the just a kind of meta comment. We were playing on 44 by 60 Mets for 1,500 points, which is probably okay, but the tournament terrain was quite sparse, I felt in general.
Yeah.
Yep, there was like 4 bits of terrain. There was a lot of hills on a lot of the... I only got one of them with a hill, which kind of sucks. I wanted more hills.
There was a bunch of maps with hills, and there wasn't much line of sight blocking.
Right.
There were 2 line of sight blocking pieces of terrain on every board, pretty much, and they were on...
There was a big kill zone in the middle for most boards. Yeah,
absolutely. There was a couple with low linear obstacles as half your terrain, which, that is not enough terrain, having 2 line of sight blockers and 2 walls.
Yep.
It just wasn't enough terrain, I don't think.
I think... Oh, we also forgot to mention, I was playing Empire, Finton was playing Warriors of Chaos,
right.
AJ, you were playing Wood Elves, and Mike, you were playing Dark Elves. So if you've not listened before, those are our armies,
Yeah.
So that was game 1. Game 2, I played against you, AJ.
Yep.
You just had a win, which you'll talk about, I'm sure.
Yep.
And we played a very interesting game, because it was a lot of sort of terrain shenanigans going on. I was shooting your stuff with great cannons. I shot your wizard off
Yep.
quite early.
Yep.
And then you charged my steam tank with a lot of stuff because
Yep.
it was really annoying. It was really annoying you.
Well, mostly what happened was I got I could not get my head around not how cannons worked, but how to have them not work.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't figure out how to shot block the cannon, and so when the wizard went off, I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to charge everything into the steam tank because I know then you can't be shooting it with cannons, and I knew that it was a bad idea tactically, but I also wanted to it was also kind of a math idea. I'm like, how much does it take to really kill a steam tank? And the answer is too much.
Yep, and it took out one of your squads of your Wild Riders in the process of you killing it.
Yep.
Which wasn't the full points back, but it was quite sticky, that steam tank.
Yep.
And then it was still it was only a close victory for me.
I think you were like 300 or 400 points up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I think that game was basically decided by that combination of the cannon shooting and the steam tank combat. Because again, it was just 4 pieces of terrain, 5 once I put my forest down, and so it kind of favored the gun line.
It did, yes, and that's basically. I mean, steam tanks and cannons are pretty much all I have. So that's
And the Outriders.
Yeah. The Outriders were okay. They didn't perform as well as I was hoping, but they were like a very juicy target for people. A lot of people really wanted to kill those Outriders, even though they're like only 120 points.
Which is really cheap.
Yeah, they're very cheap. They're very good.
We did notice a thing that needs to be FAQ'd in our game. I believe it was that Fire and Flee and Quick Shot don't work together.
Yeah.
Because Quick
as
Shot...
written, yep.
Yeah, Quick Shot says you can make a stand and shoot charge reaction. Fire and Flee gives you a different option for charge reaction. So if your opponent was within their movement distance of you, Quick Shot lets you take a stand and shoot, but not a Fire and Flee.
Yeah, so if you got your pistols, you can't fire and flee with them.
Yeah, which means pistoliers can't ever fire and flee.
Yeah,
pretty
so
much.
as if they weren't bad enough already.
Yeah.
So,
Poor guys.
Yeah, I think that does need an FAQ. And common sense would say, of course, you can fire and flee with your quick shot weapons, but rules as written.
I mean, there's an argument to be made for it. Like, it takes you time to pull out your pistol and shoot them that you could be using for running away. But, like, it's silly.
Yep. FAQ, please.
Yes.
I almost said Blizzard there. Who's
Games
Games Workshop?
Workshop.
FAQ, please. Games Workshop.
It's a pity, because like that was my favorite thing to see them do in Total War, just firing at things and then running away.
Yeah,
It's like, I hate you because you're killing me, but also that's
cool.
away.
Yeah.
you're very cool at what you do.
Skirmish cavalry are very strong. I think that any army that has skirmish cavalry should be taking it, and I'm going to be taking some Marauder horsemen with the throwing weapons in
cool.
my 2,000 point list.
Nice.
Cool.
Game 3, I played against a lovely gentleman whose name I can't remember right now.
Dave.
Yeah, Dave, that's it. And I have a habit of writing in my rule book. So I write
In pen.
In pen. Yeah, and it stresses everybody out.
This book is Ben's.
Yep. Well, I write, like, I circle stuff, and if I roll for my spells, I put like a little marker next to the ones that I got. And I was doing
God.
that as I rolled for my spells in pen. And Dave was like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I was like, "Oh no, I do this all the time. It's fine." And then he realized that I was writing in his rulebook, not mine. And I was so embarrassed.
This book
by
is
that.
not Ben's.
So I was like, "Oh no, I'm so sorry. I'll get you in your rulebook." And he was so polite. And I just said to him, "Look, you can write whatever you want in my rulebook. I'm not even going to look.
This
Just write
book is
whatever you
Dave's."
want." And he put a lovely message in there. I was expecting like perhaps a large phallic drawing. But, he was a lovely guy, and he beat me. He played Orcs and Goblins, just a classic traditional Orcs and Goblins list.
Mixed arms. It was
Yeah.
lovely, well painted as well. I thought it was a really beautiful army.
And I was getting some work done with the cannons. I was shooting his war machines. I was shooting his giant. But when his boar riders reached my back line, they just killed everything. They absolutely destroyed everything. So
Yeah.
he won by a good few points, like 400, 500. And I would love to play against him again. I was at one point I was sort of cheering him on just because I love orcs. They're so fun. I was like, "Oh, do that thing, do the foot of Gork," and
Which lacks its foot template. What
Yeah.
we've lost.
So I'd love to play against him again. So overall, 2-1 at the tournament, better than I was expecting. Would have rather beat people that I didn't go to the tournament with. But I want to give a shout out to the tournament organizer, who is just a lovely bloke. Bernard,
Bernard,
yeah, and he's also an Empire player, so
didn't influence your opinion of him at all.
No, well, and he put a lot of effort into running the tournament, and it was a really fun day out. Everyone there was a total gent, and thanks Bernard and thanks to Unwood Gaming, lovely venue.
Yeah, lovely guy. He gave me one of those a really nice 3D printed tray as well. By the end of it, he didn't need it, so I was like, "Man, do you want this?" And I was like, "Yeah, definitely."
Wow.
Nice.
Answered every question that I had, and I had quite a few of them. So
Yeah, he knew the rules very well.
yeah.
Well, just because we're talking about Bernard, I will say that he is currently ranked number 1 in the country.
What?
Yeah. So after the tournament, James and I, James, one of the Dublin club players, we put together the data from the different events that there have been for Old World so far in Ireland, just to start tracking rankings as a way to encourage a bit of friendly competition, and also eventually, probably not this year, but like maybe next year when we have a full calendar, to be able to have like an invitational at the end for the top players, and or a team event or whatever else. But a little bit of friendly competition. Bernard's at the top. He's scored pretty highly in the tournaments that he has participated in. And on top of that, we give TOs the mid ranking for any tournament that they run.
That's a good idea.
So that they don't miss out on points. And so partially because he's now been at all of the events and scored pretty well, he is the top ranked player in Ireland. So
Go on, Bernard.
Go Bernard, yeah.
And he's playing Empire?
Yeah, he's got 2 armies. I think he's got Empire, and I think he's got something else as well.
I tuned out when he was talking. Just like, you're a fellow Empire player.
Yes.
Hello. That was my games.
You saw a pink heart-shaped outline around him.
Yeah, I just we started talking about Sigmar, and and how great he is. So there you go.
Had a little prayer together.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I will cover my games that were not against Ben, and then you, Fintan, can cover your games that were not against me or Ben.
Yeah, my one.
And then, Mark, you get to steal the rest of the show and take us home. Okay, so my first game was against Stephen, I believe his name was, who was a Bretonnian player. Interesting list. It was an Errantry Crusade list with no wizards. So 1,500 points of oops all knights. He had no peasants, no wizards. Everything was on horseback and in heavy armor. So he had, I think he had 1 unit of errants, and 2 units of Knights of the Realm as his core. And then he had 2 units of Peg Knights, I think, and a big Duke on a Royal Pegasus. And I think that was it.
I think I have his list here if you need it.
Oh, sure. But it was all knights. All right, let me see here. Yep. Duke. Oh, and he also had a paladin on a Pegasus. Yep. As his BSB. He had 3 Knights of the Realm lances, not 2. And otherwise, I got it right. Okay, not bad from memory from 2 weeks ago. So in that, I basically deployed in one corner, and forced him to kind of come at me, and that gave me a bit of an opportunity to shoot his Duke with the poison shots and knock a couple of wounds off. Then his Duke charged into something, and I got a nice side swipe from my Wild Riders and took out his Duke in turn 2, I think. Wild Riders plus the Great Stag BSB definitely were the star of the show for that game. I think it was I ended up with a minor win. I think mostly, he brought things around, but because I had time to kind of face each unit one at a time, combination of the War Dancers, Wild Riders, and the BSB were able to take them out. And then the Tree Man would just kind of stand there and go, okay, whatever unit of knights you want to throw at me, I'll just weather that and hold you up for as long as I feel like it. Tree Man, the only knights that really killed Tree Man, like the only rank and file knights that kill tree men are Grail knights, and even they have trouble, honestly.
Are they strength 7 on the charge?
Grail knights,
Or are they strength,
strength
6?
6.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And Knights
So they
of the
even
Realm.
struggle, yeah.
Knights of the Realm are only strength 5, and same with Errant. I think the Peg Knights are strength 6 on the charge.
They're really good, those Peg Knights.
They are good.
Yep.
They are good. And but I think, combination of being around a forest and not giving a lot of angles for charges, I kind of squeaked out the win. Then I played Yuban, and then lastly I played Finton. Our game was decided by a rules fallacy, as I have now learned. I explain the situation very briefly. When you put a chaff unit in front of a frenzied unit, and you have the chaff unit 1 inch away with its flank exposed to the frenzied unit, but more than half of the unit is actually in the front arc, then the unit has to take this big sort of 90-degree pivot as it charges the front arc of the chaff unit.
I want to get charged in the rear.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what happened. You opened up charge in the rear. So turns
I
out...
didn't have a choice because you had a Great Eagle.
And that's where the fallacy comes from. Turns out that I think it's in the FAQ. After you wipe out a unit, you can reform
After overrunning?
after overrunning.
Right.
It's not a restrain and reform, so you're not prohibited by the frenzy. But after you overrun, you can reform. So you would have still gone the direction I wanted you to go, but
I wouldn't have gotten rear charged.
You wouldn't have gotten rear charged
by the BSB and the Wild Riders and lost the whole unit.
Right, exactly. I still think it would have sucked to take a front charge from the BSB and the Wild Riders.
I probably could have killed at least one of them, though.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it certainly would have changed the outcome.
Yeah.
I think there were 2 bullshit things. That was one of them. The other one was...
this one is not a rules fallacy.
This is not a rules fallacy. This was just...
dumb luck.
Dumb luck and us maligning a particular spell. So... I think you wiped out a unit. What was it, Dryads or War Dancers?
I think it was the War Dancers, yeah.
War Dancers with a Chimera. Mm-hmm. And they fled off the board, and the Chimera pursued them off the board.
I pursued nearly off the board, I think.
I think you pursued them off the board, came back on in the reserve move phase. And then I cast Curse of Cowardly Flight on the leadership... 6 Chimera.
No, it's 4.
Is it 4?
Oh, yeah.
Leadership 4 Chimera.
It's really bad.
And it was not in range of...
It was in dispel range. I failed the dispel.
You failed the dispel, but it wasn't in leadership range of anything to give it a buff.
No, of course not.
So you failed the dispel, and then, of course, leadership 4, it just fled off the board.
Yeah.
So after us saying that spell is absolute garbage, it actually won me a game.
Yes. So actually, it technically didn't flee off the board. It fell back in good order off the board.
That's right.
Panic cannot cause a flee unless the unit is below half strength, right?
Right. And with monsters, that means they can never actually flee. They only ever fall back in good order.
So the Chimera walked backwards 6 inches or so, and then decided not to come back on.
That's right.
So basically, low leadership monsters, they're kind of like cats. They'll do whatever they want to do, essentially.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yes, when your opponent has a spell, it shouts boo at them.
And then it'll knock the dice off the edge of the table as well all the way up.
It's like putting that cucumber down behind them. Curse of Cowardly Cucumber.
Curse of Cucumberly Flight.
Yeah, that's it.
So is Wood Elves a bad matchup for Chaos Warriors typically then, or at least the...
It definitely felt bad.
Yeah.
It was a rough situation to be in, having to go through all of this stuff that's running away from you, and I've got a very aggressive and kind of slow list. When all of them can outspeed you, and in some cases they just cannot be touched by you no matter what you do, and they can manipulate so much of your movement, it's really difficult to get a good feeling game out of it, I think. Yeah,
I think the Wood Elves dodge and shoot and just keep running around you until you get the right sort of charge. It feels kind of scuzzy, and I don't like it very much. But it is the correct correct. But it is
How they're designed to play.
It's kind of how they're designed to play. Does feel like it's the optimal way to play them, and I don't like it, and I'm not going to do it. I liked to play them as, and I've talked about this before. I liked the tree spirits coming and smashing face after you'd kind of been, softened up with some archery fire. That feels super thematic to me. You can't do that in this edition in quite the same way because
The tree spirits are...
the tree spirits hit like a wet blanket. So
the tree spirits hit like an actual tree.
So anyway, I think against Chaos, it's a pretty good matchup for Wood Elves. The exceptions probably
Dragons.
and
As with everything in this edition,
yeah.
dragons are super strong.
Yeah, Wood Elves struggle against very high toughness, high armor save stuff.
Particularly high armor saves.
High armor saves are tough. Well, high armor saves, low toughness you can do.
High toughness,
High
low armor
toughness,
saves.
low armor saves you can do, but the combination of both that you get on the typical dragon builds,
Without the Sisters of the Thorn, it's really rough.
it's rough. Yeah, and the Sisters of the Thorn I think help with the taking Plague of Rust. But again, you're kind of leaning into that dodge around, take the particular charges that you want, sort of style, which doesn't suit my temperament. Yeah, it was fine. I think we ended up just calling that game pretty early on. Yeah.
Yep. It was...
I resigned after the bullshit.
Yeah. I was not happy after that game.
Yeah. And I was not happy after the Ben's game. And so we all came home a little bit salty and apologizing to each other. So anyway.
Our games we had against people who weren't us were fun, though.
They were great. It's just we didn't want to play each other. We'd travel 100 kilometers. You want to play against somebody else?
Yeah. Anyway, for my...
Middle game?
Yeah, my second game. So first game was against Ben. Third game was against you. My second game was against a Bretonnian player. I think his name was Conan. And it was a really fun game. It was really silly. A lot of funny stuff happened. So I had deployed one unit of Chosen Knights on each flank, and he deployed his units of...
Chaos Knights?
Oh, yeah, Chaos Knights, not Chosen Knights, my bad. One unit of Chaos Knights on each flank. I'd actually held back my Chosen for this game. He was playing a very aggressive 4 big units of Knights and a Duke on Hippogriff, and he's got 1 unit of Peasant Archers to fill out his core. It was a scary list. I didn't want to get charged by all these knights at once in the front of my Chosen, because they're just going to get all of them in contact, and that's going to hurt a lot. So I decided I'm going to hold them back behind this low linear obstacle and just shoot magic missiles and have a 600-point bunker, so I don't lose. And that ended up working. But the rest of my list, I deployed almost the entire rest of it on the right flank, and then 1 unit of Chaos Knights on the left flank. Turn 1, we marched up and stood just outside of charge range of each other. We had a very Mexican standoff for the first 2 turns. But on the second turn, he charged in his Pegasus Knights, because they were faster than my Chaos Knights. They got in with the charge, hitting first. 10 attacks. Missed all of them.
Oh, no.
Oh, poor Conan.
And then I beat him in the combat with just hand weapons, and they fell back in good order. And that repeated for the rest of the game, those Chaos Knights pushing back the Pegasus Knights, and then eventually killing them on like turn 4 or 5. It was rough.
Chaos Knights don't have countercharge, right?
Nope, just first charge.
Right.
So it sucked.
Yeah.
At the same time, on the left flank, he charged in with a unit of Knights of the Realm against my Chaos Knights. I got the charge off this time, actually. I missed all my attacks. And then he killed the unit and charged my Chosen with what remained. They slaughtered him.
Yep.
I got some really nice flank charges in with my Chimera, charging over things. It's a large target. In the flank of the Grail Knights. Killed a couple of them. That was fun. I held up the Duke with Giants and Dogs for most of the game. He didn't ever actually get a charge off.
Oh.
Just being able to...
Because he was on a Hippogriff?
Yeah, he was.
So he doesn't have that 360-degree charge arc. Did that come into play?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
I actually rear charged him, and that let me win combats.
Ah.
So he couldn't get out of the combat easily.
Yep.
It was good. I had 1 unit at the end of the game. I had 1 unit of Chaos Knights. That unit on the with the Pegasus, they killed the Pegasus Knights, running away from his Paladin and his Duke and his Grail Knights. They weren't actually fleeing, but they were just avoiding him. And by getting into... they charged the peasant archers and killed a couple of them, and then got charged in the rear by the paladin. He whiffed all his attacks, and then I killed the paladin, and that won me the game because he's a BSB.
Oh, wow. I mean, it really is a game of dice at the end of the day.
It is,
right?
absolutely.
He had a cool list. I really liked his list.
Mm-hmm.
He had he was the one who brought the damsel.
Yep.
The other Bretonian player.
She ended up fleeing just 2 inches away from the board edge at the end of the game. But I think I still ended up winning that one. It was a very fun game, and I had a really good time at least, and I tried to, I think it was a great time all around.
Cool. All right, Mark.
Yeah, so my original plan for my list was to get Illusion, and because I saw someone do this in a different list, be able to take so many spells that you're guaranteed to get Spectral Doppelganger, and in my first and last games, I didn't get it at all. So that didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to. But,
5 spells.
Yeah, 5 spells, and twice I didn't get the one that I was expecting to. So I think lessons learned there. Don't.
You know what that means, though? Your next 10 games or so that you play, you'll get it every time.
Yeah. When I don't need it.
It's a game of dice.
Yeah. So yeah, I brought along, a dragon and all that kind of stuff. First game was against Corey, who I've played before, off in Kilkenny, and we had illegal lists. Unfortunately, both of us back then, we actually broke the same rules in both of our armies because he has high elves, I have dark elves. So we both fixed them up. His was a bit more different than mine. He was bringing a mage on a Skycutter chariot this time. Basically, he had a load of dragon princes. I had a load of Coldwood Knights. He had a dragon. I had a dragon. We both had mages. Everything came together in the middle. Everything blew up in the middle. His Illyrian Reavers and my Dark Riders, both the skirmish like cavalry for each other. So again, they have their counterparts there. They just kind of bet each other up on the sides, or more so his bet up mine, and then kill them. We had to end it early because we just weren't able to finish up the game in time. So by turn 3, there was a massive Coldwood Knight, actually very few Coldwood Knights and Dragon Princes left in the middle, and the big massive melee there. Both dragons still alive. Skycutter was on like 1 wound left. I ended up losing by about 300 points. I only actually gained 75 in that, but I mean, if it went on for one more turn, both numbers would have gone up victory point wise. So that was an interesting game, and Corey's a lovely guy to play against. Played against him before, would be very happy to play against him again, because he's just really good at teaching you parts of the game that you don't know about. Telling you, you can do this thing with say your dragon at the end of the turn if you win combat, and etc.
Classic elf off.
Exactly. Surprisingly,
did you remember your hatred rules for fighting high elves?
No. Don't. Until you mentioned it there, I actually did not remember that. So yeah.
Did you get hatred dark elves as well? Is that how it works? Or
No.
is it just...
No.
Dark elves get hatred high elves.
Yeah,
it's an advantage.
That's how they usually win. And I'm like, how come you didn't win? Now I know.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's the same with dwarfs and orcs, isn't it? Only night goblins hate dwarfs, but dwarfs hate all orcs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And night goblins also fear elves.
Yes.
Did high elves actually have anything in 8th against dark elves, or did they?
No, they just had martial prowess. So,
Well, they all had always strikes first.
which was just ridiculous.
Yeah, but no, there were. I think there were particular units that had anti-dark elf stuff. If
Shadow
memory
Warriors
serves.
for sure.
Yeah,
They hate dark elves, but I remember ages ago they had some sort of thing where they didn't panic against dark elves, so it kind of balanced each other out a little bit.
Yeah,
But
I mean, dark elves were, for as long as I can remember, high elves were really good, and then dark elves were really good plus.
good.
High elves had the bigger dragons, which sucked in 8th edition, but
Yes,
now it's really strong.
are better. Yeah,
Yeah, it is good to be able to have those. I think it's like 3 levels of dragons.
Yeah.
I think he brought the Star Dragon, which I think is the strongest one.
Yeah, the toughness 7 dragon with like 10 wounds. It's
Yep.
ridiculous.
It's the 2 up, 5 up, 5 up guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
gross.
Yeah, I hate that thing.
Against
The tough
toughness 7, which is
Is it tough 7?
the Star
strength 7?
The Star Dragon is tough and strength 7, I believe.
Oof.
Ugh.
Just one of the very few. Actually,
Yeah.
is that
It goes 5,
very
6,
few that has toughness 7?
It and the Steam Tank are the only 2 in the base books. The Great Unclean one also has toughness 7. Those are the only units that have toughness 7, to my knowledge.
Nice.
I think maybe something in Chaos Dwarfs. I've not read the Chaos Dwarf list.
Yeah, the Chaos Dwarves you can give your wizard toughness 7.
Really?
If you put it on a thing, I think.
Actually, the way it works is that as you take wounds, your toughness goes up.
I love that.
Yeah. So
Oh, right, because he's turning into stone.
turning into stone. Yeah. So you do get pretty tough by the end of it.
That's quite cool.
Very hardy, one might say.
All right, go on to your second game,
Yeah.
Mr. Pun.
So that was fun. And then I played against Dan, who brought Tomb Kings. And this is the first time I noticed, actually, because of the Ring of Ruin meta, that actually matters a lot, especially when you're firing it at a chariot that has the dry as dust rule, which is flammable, I think. It's... What's it again? It's like flammable, but
you take extra wounds
yeah.
For every flammable wound you take.
Yeah, it's like you roll a dice,
yeah.
and then on a 1, 2, 3, it's an extra wound. Otherwise, it's not. And
the only two models that have it are the King and the Chariots.
Yeah, so I think it was Ring of Ruin on his chariots. He has like 3 of them. I think it's mandatory in Tomb King's list to have 3 chariots.
You have to have 1 unit of chariots in the royal host.
Yeah.
But they're just a decent unit.
Yeah, so I was firing away at them, and kind of like the Ring of Ruin and just magic missiles in general just kind of messed them up quite badly. Other than that, his Necrosphinx and Zombie Dragon went up against my Hydra, and I was like, oh, okay, Hydra, I've seen this do really fun things before. It's able to charge things off the board and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't take getting charged by a thing that can chop its head off very well at all.
Even though it's got 7 heads?
Yeah, it counts as 1. It's kind of like a barber, it kind of lines them all up and then snip.
I think that would actually be a really cool rule for the Hydra, is that it's immune to Monster Slayer.
That would be really cool.
That would actually be kind of cool.
Like, I mean, it's so thematic. It's like, yeah, you could go ahead and chop its head off, but it's got 6 more.
It'd be really funny if every time you got a Monster Slayer wound on it, it would regain wounds.
It's like the ultimate anti-Monster Slayer monster.
Yeah.
Just point of order, the Star Dragon is +3 toughness, so that means
okay.
it is only tough 6, but it's strength 7. That's
right. I was confused, my bad.
That's okay.
So in that case, yes, the Steam Tank and the Great Unclean are the only 2 toughness 7 units in the game.
I think so.
Now that you mention it, the Shield of Gron reduces incoming attacks by... I know it's not the same as toughness 7, but Shield of Gron reduces the strength of attacks by 1. So that kind of is...
You can get some toughness 10 on a Dwarf King as well.
Mm-hmm.
Which is...
yeah.
Okay.
The Rune of Adamant, over it's called.
That's like 100 points, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's 100 points, but it's very worth it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your King cannot be killed by Strength 4 anymore.
It cannot even be wounded by strength 4 or below. Yeah, it's pretty neat.
And anything Strength 8 or below is wounding on 6s. So
yeah,
everything is wounding on 6s except Great Cannons.
Yeah.
Nice. So we had Ushabti as well. They did a bit of work.
Love Ushabti.
Yeah, they're really nice looking models too. He had, I think, 3 or 4. They had him with bows.
Yeah.
And then a champion with this kind of weird looking... I don't even know how to describe it. Like glaive or something. It had 2 handles. There were sharp parts. It looked like it would.
It was also armed with the bow, though. You can't arm the champions any differently.
Ah, okay. Could have just been for looks that he had it set up that way anyway. That a load of skeletons in a big unit with at least 1 Lich Priest. I think maybe a prince as well, and a Tomb Scorpion who was nice, lovely, big base, and this tiny little. It was like a tiny little Tomb Scorpion. It was like
it was a red like
Lego or something,
like Lizardman Scorpion, basically. Like it was to scale an actual scorpion. And they called it Lobster.
Yeah, that went up. That went up against like 1 Cold One Knight and the Sorceress, who was also on a Cold One, and I think the 1 remaining Cold One Knight killed it. Which shouldn't have happened. He just didn't do well in combat. He should have done much better, but it just wasn't his day.
The Ushabti weapon is called a Ritual Blade.
Ah.
And he actually had a bow, but modeled with the Ritual Blade just to look cool.
The Ritual Blades are basically an AP3 great weapon.
Nice.
They're really strong.
Yep.
Especially on the Venerable Ushabti, because I'm getting off topic anyway.
Yeah. We already covered that in another podcast
We
episode.
sure did. Go listen to the episode, whatever it was called.
Yeah. Tomb Kings Can't March to War.
That's the one.
Yeah.
So basically, I marched my my dragon from one corner of the board all the way up to the middle, and like his dragon and Necrosphinx tried to do this ring around a rosy type thing, where my dragon would charge things, that it was able to see around this big broken tower thing, and then his dragon on a massive base would try to chase it, but then it would get caught in things like my warriors, which have been a lovely roadblock, but they're very expensive. But they did block the dragon, so that worked. Yeah, I drew. 60 points was the difference in favor of me, but it's, still a draw. So it was nice to actually get a genuine draw and a full game in for a change, which was nice. Reaper and Garoon still really, really good. Yeah.
Ruby Ringer view win, as you always say, Ben.
Exactly.
Yes. We just need to start coining more names. What was the Wood Elf one? Broken Staff.
Oh, the broken stave.
Oh my
yeah.
god,
Yeah.
that fucking thing.
It does feel like cheating.
So dumb.
I didn't get to cast a single spell in our game.
I don't think I did either.
Yeah, until the wizard died.
Yeah, until they shot it.
Yeah. The broken stave. So it's actually called the oaken stave. I did the math on it actually, just to kind of work it out. Anyway, finish your game and then I'll talk about the math of the broken stave.
Final game was against actually Stephen as well. So I played against his magicless, peasantless list. And that was, I'd say that was probably one of the more interesting kind of games where I was trying really, I kind of hit my stride of the day at that stage, and I was really figuring out how to, play the game kind of correctly. So I didn't get what I was looking for the illusion lore again, but I did get Crystal Column, because his whole army was moving. I was thinking, okay, what can I block up here? And I was actually able to get my dragon to fit in between 3 objects. There was a kind of hedge or wall, some sort of impassable terrain that each army had right in front of the center of their deployment. So my dragon went just beyond that to charge what ended up being, I think, a unit of Pegasus Knights at one stage. But it was protected on the left-hand side by the Crystal Column and on the right-hand side by my 20 Dark Elf Warriors. So it was allowed to just munch away there. Didn't get countercharged or anything like that. There was no room to put any units anywhere near it, so it was able to do whatever it wanted, which was great. An awful lot of charging went on.
Well, spells that protect your flank are just amazing.
Yeah, it was really good. I tried to mix things up a little bit by taking the Dark Elf signature spell, and it's a template spell again. It does damage if you go through it. It didn't actually do anything. It just went off the side of the board because it moves. So Crystal Column, I think one of the great things about it is it stays in place.
Yep. It's very hard to dispel.
Yeah.
It's hard to cast, though.
Oh, sorry. You've lost your sound. Say again.
It's hard to cast, it's hard to dispel, and it's really effective.
Yeah, so if you don't bring an enemy wizard, any kind of level of wizard, you're not going to be dispelling.
Or the broken stave.
Even if you bring it, isn't it an 11 casting cost? So you still, you've still only got, there's a 42% chance you won't dispel it, even with a level 4. So
yeah,
it's really solid.
It's very solid.
It's a really good spell. So what else happened in that game?
No, it's a 10 plus to cast.
10 plus, okay. Still.
So yes, you learned that magical vortexes are not good.
Yeah,
yet again.
The moving ones that do damage definitely don't seem to do anything. So I just didn't really bother casting again after that. They just kind of went off, and I was like, I don't even want to risk a miscast. No, sorry, I wasn't going to, but my dragon, who had the sorceress, was in combat pretty much the entire rest of the game, which is where you want them to be honest. My Dark Riders on either side were eaten up by charges. I marched one right into the middle of the board to eat a charge. On the left-hand side of the board to eat another charge. The right-hand side of the board to eat another charge. And then what he had on the right-hand side, his left-hand side, marched up around, eventually went up against the dragon as well. An awful lot of stuff went into the dragon. It didn't actually die in combat. I think the secret to beating dragons, or rather the way to make it even better dragon.
A lot of stuff went up against the dragon.
Yeah.
The dragon didn't die in combat.
No.
Right. The
It
other
had
stuff
three
did.
3 wounds left by the end of the game. What killed it was it failed its break test, fled, and then was run down.
Yep.
But the only reason it did that was because I had a level 8 sorceress on it and no general with higher leadership.
Oh, leadership 8 sorceress. Yeah. Okay.
So lessons learned there. I was thinking originally, obvious choice, pick a sorceress on the dragon, give it something spicy to make it really, really good at combat, like Spectral Doppelganger.
That was one of the games you didn't roll Spectral.
Yeah.
Speaking of Spectral Doppelganger, you did mention when we were coming home from the tournament that you had some regrets about the weapon you put on your sorceress.
Yeah, the Headsman's Axe. It's only something like +2 strength, -2 AP. I think the magic
killing blow?
It does have killing blow. It didn't work. I think I had it for the second game and it still didn't do much. I mean, you're still rolling 2d6 for all your attacks. Sometimes you just roll low, and sometimes the weapon skill for the sorceress does not do you any favors. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. So remember the thing about Spectral Doppelganger is that it does inflict hits, not attacks.
Okay.
So it automatically hits, bypassing your weapon skill.
Yeah, I mean, like, even so, it just didn't work with her. So it's definitely not as powerful. I know if you cast Ring of Ruin and Fireball enough in games, you'll be like, oh, look, eventually I'll get like an 11 and I'll do tons of damage. You're not going to have the same amount of chances to do that with Spectral Doppelganger. You need to actually be in close combat. It's easier to stay out, or it's easier to stay out of close combat, I think, and cast Fireball than it is to get into close combat and cast Spectral Doppelganger.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I have a feeling that I think putting a spellcaster on a combat monster is a nombo rather than a combo.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels the same way with the Tree Man Ancient. You know, it's not quite good enough in combat to be a combat character.
Yeah.
But not quite good enough to be a support caster. So
the only thing I'm thinking is, like, you know, like the big thing about only having a big massive close combat monster of a dragon, you know, with the Lord, with all the bells and whistles, is that you're really afraid that someone's going to come along with that illusion spell that stops you from charging, which just means stay out of range, do your charge, get into combat, follow up every time with combat. Just as long as the dragon stays in combat, it's I don't even think it's that big a deal to get charged in the rear, because that's what happened in my game, and it still survived.
Yeah, because it's got so much damage output.
Yeah, absolutely. The only other thing of note would be Hydra and Cold One Knights. They had up some Pegasus Knights too, and then eventually the Cold One Knights got pushed off. The Hydra survived this time, so yeah. Just as long as it seems to be, when it comes to monsters, you want to be doing the charging, not getting charged. Just it's literally whoever does the charging is going to win. That's it.
I mean, that is a lot of the game period, right? Yeah. You know, being able, that's why countercharge is such a great ability. But you know, with the bonus that you get from 2 initiative, you know, and the fact that once things are dead, they don't get to fight back. Being on the charge is so tactically significant as to be, I would say, at least half of the skill of the game, being able to be the one charging rather than being charged.
100%. Yeah.
Okay. You're worried about the dragon not being able to charge because of the illusion mirage spell.
Yes.
See, if you're a wood elf, you bring the broken stave. Now I'm just going to go right over to the math for that because I brought it up.
Great segue.
Yeah, I wrote this up a couple of weeks ago. So the odds of winning a straight up dispel roll. Okay, this is your wizards are the same level. So you just have to beat their 2d6 roll with your 2d6. The odds of doing that are 44.4%, right? So the odds of doing it when you're rolling 3d6 and dropping the lowest are 62.4%.
Only?
Yeah, it's only 60. But the reason that it feels like cheating is because that the difference between those two is actually a 40% bump. So now you're now 40% more likely to dispel the spell than you were before. So it's actually pretty huge.
Compared to equivalent cost stuff for boosting casting, you can get +1 to cast for the same points, which is not nearly as big of a difference.
No, this is like having it's basically like having a dispel scroll in a staff.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
You just have to be near trees. You have to be tree.
You have to be within 3 inches of a forest.
See, they've misflavored it. It's not an oaken stave. It's actually a printing press. You take leaves off the trees, turn them into paper, and then print out a dispel scroll.
Okay. Well, so overall, I thought the event was great.
Yep, it's good fun.
It, the venue there is very good. If you've never been to Underworld Gaming, it's split into 2 halves. One half is the store, which has some gaming tables in it. And the other half is like a gaming hall, and it's purely for wargaming. I mean, presumably they can do other things in it, but it's all set up so that you can do wargaming. And it's going to be the venue for the Rank and Flank GT.
Woo!
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So is it okay if we just roll into that now? I think we kind of... Does anybody have final thoughts about the Onslaught?
No, yeah, just thanks for running the tournament. Please run more.
Yeah.
Yep. Dublin's not that far for us.
Yeah.
So,
It's not really far for anybody in Ireland. Like all roads lead to Dublin.
Yeah.
Nothing's that far in Ireland.
That's true compared to the
Next-
Northwest.
Next
Yeah.
time I'll win a game. Fully,
Yeah,
and
you'll
properly.
get there. This time you tied, right? So
Yeah.
that's an improvement.
If you played one more turn, you could have won.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. Okay, so the rank and flank GT, we talked a little bit about it in the last podcast, sorry. I think pretty much all of the details are confirmed now. August 3rd and 4th, it'll be at Underworld Gaming. The tickets are now available. Just went up today, so by the time this goes out, everything should be in place. So it's 5 games, 2,000 points, 2.5 hour rounds. And I've got the tournament pack up and ready. I don't want to go through the tournament pack in too much detail, but I do want to just mention that I'm, as a way to try and encourage as many players as possible, allies and mercenaries and armies of infamy and non-Games Workshop miniatures, all totally fine. Legacy lists, whatever.
Allies are allowed.
Yes, allies are allowed.
Spicy.
You would think that, but we spent some time in the Discord channel trying to figure out ways to make a broken list because you're bringing allies, and nobody really could. So I really hope somebody does figure out a way to game it and bring something super killer in those 500 points of allies that they're allowed. But
Dwarfs with wizards.
yeah, you can.
Yep.
You absolutely. That's actually. That's Bernard's other army is dwarfs.
Dwarfs. Oh, he plays the same armies as
He
me.
plays the same armies as you. He's basically your
right.
Dublin counterpart.
Yes.
So yeah, because he was talking about putting some Empire wizards in with a dwarf army.
Surely putting anyone on a dragon would be ridiculous, wouldn't it?
Well, you can't in 500 points of allies.
Oh, right, yeah.
Or you could take a dragon in your main list and then bring allied something else, but. The most you can bring in characters is 250
Tomb King
points.
BSB.
Yeah. How many things can take Tomb Kings as allies?
I don't know.
Me neither.
At least vampire counts can, but they already have their thing.
Sure. The other part of it is like there's so many things that are restricted to, like all the fun stuff is restricted to. You can only have them if you've got more than 1,000 points. Right. So like all the big characters are 0 to 1 per 1,000 points. So that right away takes them out of allies, right? Because it's only 500 points you're allowed to bring. So, I'm throwing the challenge out there now. If you think you've got a way to break the meta by bringing 500 points of allies, bring it. Please bring it to the tournament and show us all how it's done. Okay, so broadly speaking, we're going to have
You cannot use the BSB of an allied contingent.
You cannot. There you go. Boom. There's that problem solved. We're going to have
Dwarves with wizards and cavalry, like that's strong enough on its own.
we're going to have paint scoring. Everybody will vote for their favorite painted army, but you do not have to bring a fully painted army. It's more just about getting extra bonus points if you do. Everybody will be voting for their top 3 favorite painted lists, and then also be voting for their top 3 favorite opponents. And we'll give out an award to the best sports from that. Now, in terms of scenario and scoring, I'm using the 20-0 system from older editions. And you'll be able to score up to a maximum of 15-5 from your victory points from battle, right? So what that means is, for those of you who have never heard of 20-0 before or are rusty, the difference in your victory points will give you a score that gives you, between you and your opponent, somewhere from starting at 10-10 for tying, and then going to 11-9, 12-8, 13-7, all the way up to 15-5. And it's a 300 victory point difference. So 0 to 300 is a tie. 301 to 600 is 11-9, and so forth until you get to 1500, which is a 15-5. Then the other 5 points come from the scenarios, and the different scenarios allow you to earn up to another 5 points. It's going to be pretty difficult to get a 20 nothing win. And the idea behind that is to try and keep the rankings pretty tight, so that it's not just, these guys are the ones that have got 4 wins. So going into round 5, it's really down to 2 people. It's always way more fun and more tense if, the top 5 or 6 people all have a chance of winning in the last round. Okay, so all that being said, maybe we can, just because we've had a huge tournament zone so far already, maybe we should keep the scenarios for the next
podcast.
Next podcast.
Seems fine.
Think? Does that seem fine to everybody?
Sure.
Or if you're in the Discord, you can get a sneak peek.
Yeah, you can. And
tell us how bad they are.
Yeah, they're great. Shut up. They're join the Discord, or you can go on the website. I think they'll be on the website within the next few days as well. Cool. That's all I have to say about the Rank and Flank GT. More info coming. I guess the last thing that we should do is talk about the 3 events that are happening
this month.
Yeah. So
in the same weekend.
At the same weekend.
Same day, right?
Same day, pretty much. Yeah. So the event that Finton and I are traveling to is run by the Exploding Dice Game Club up in Bangor, which is near Belfast. They're running a 2,000 point event on Sunday the 30th. 3 games. And it's basically let's all get together and play our first organized event of Old World at this scale. So
Nothing too serious.
And I'm really excited to go up and meet the folks up there that are playing and
play 2,000 points.
Play 2,000 points. Yeah, that'll be fun too. Second event that's happening, Mark and Ben, you're both going to?
Yes.
Want to talk about that?
We decided we would split our efforts. You two would go up north, and me and Mark would travel less distance and remain
across the bridge,
within very close proximity of our warm homes, which is nice. And we're going to Tim, who if you listened to the podcast before, he has a shop called Mountain Gremlin Games, and he's running a narrative event. So it's a bunch of games at 500 points using specific rules that are for smaller games. And then based on the output of those games, you have one big 1,500 points game at the end. So you collect magic items that you can then use in your last game. So it's going to be pretty fun. I think it's a great opportunity for us to get some more local players into the game, which is exactly why Tim is running it, because there's a lot of people who are dipping their toe into the old world but haven't really, because the barrier to entry is quite high. You have to paint a lot, you've got to assemble a lot, you've got to play a lot.
Find models that are out of production.
Yeah.
You've got to learn a lot of rules. So we're going to go there, play with some of the newer players, have some fun narrative events. It won't be super competitive, although there is a prize. I think it's like €25 store credit. And is there anything else you wanted to add, Mark?
Border Patrol rules for the first one. Tim found them on a YouTube channel, and I think it's based on an older edition of the game. I'm not sure exactly which edition, but Border Patrol rules. Starting to turn into a tongue twister. From 7th or 8th or 6th or something like that. It's like you only get one special, one rare, etc. It makes sense, an awful lot of sense for 500 points. Maximum amount of units, minimum amount, all that sort of stuff. So it should be really fun. A couple of nice quick games and then one proper game. Not too rushed. Plenty of time to do them, I think. So
learn the rules with a few units in the early games, and then try it all out at a bigger scale in the last game.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think you have to take the units from the 500 points one, but it's meant to be kind of narrative in the sense that maybe this is like a scouting force, or this is just your group in the Badlands, which is what they're calling it.
Neat.
So bit of a scouting force, small force, and then along come the reinforcements. Let's have a big massive battle. Bring all your magic items and destroy everything.
Yeah.
Take home the treasure.
Yeah. And then the third event that's happening on the weekend of the 29th and 30th is actually a gaming con out in Limerick that runs every year called Conclave. And they run it at Thomond Park, I think that's how it's pronounced, which is the Munster Rugby Stadium. And it's run by the game store out in Limerick there, The Gathering. And they asked if we could run an event there, but sadly, because of we'd already made prior commitments, we couldn't do that, but they're going to be running some old world stuff. I think they're going to try and do like a 1-day tournament if they can, but it'll really depend on how many players show up and all that sort of stuff. But at the very least, they'll be running some participation games. So if you're out on the West Coast, in Limerick's not too far for you to get to. I think Conclave, they'll be running a ton of different games there, not just miniatures games, but also board games, card games, role-playing games, sort of typical game con sort of stuff. Check that out. And what we said was, hopefully by this time next year, we'll be able to run a GT, a Conclave, and it'll be part of a well-organized calendar of events so that we can have some fun traveling around the country and playing our favorite game.
It's an excuse to travel island, isn't it, really?
Exactly. And to go hang out with like-minded nerds and enjoy yourself.
Yes. Sort of find different pockets.
Yeah,
of
exactly.
Warhammer players. Yeah,
exactly.
It's really fun.
And frankly, that's half the reason why we wanted to start this podcast, right? Is to try and have something where it's like, here's a centralized place to help organize so that we can do that sort of thing and really enjoy. One of the things I think that we didn't talk about with the tournament that we went to in Dublin was that the four of us all drove up in the same car, and that was and drove back down again, and that to me was half the fun, right? Because it's 3 hours of travel time. And all we're doing is, anticipation and geeking out about our lists on the way up, and then be like, commiserating and talking about all the things that happened on the way back down.
It was the war wagon.
It was the war wagon, yeah.
It's very fun. I'm looking forward to doing more of that in the future.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely.
The Art of War.
Okay, Art of War. I'm going to be finishing up our magic lores today.
It's taken us a long time to get through them all.
We've had a lot to say about them.
There's also a lot of spells, right?
There are a lot of spells. 7 per lore, 8 lores. So
Technically, we're not even going to be finishing it here because Orcs and Goblins have their own magic lore, which is a full lore.
an extra magic lore on top of the WoW.
Yeah.
And there's the faction spells.
And then there's all the
well.
faction spells.
We won't be covering those outside of faction-specific things anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah, makes sense.
Honestly, we probably shouldn't be covering WoW Magic alongside this, but it's in the base rulebook, so...
I think we should because every faction has access to it through the Wizarding Hat.
Wait, really? Wizarding Hat can give you WoW Magic?
It can give you WoW Magic, or it can give you even Troll Magic.
Maybe we should cover Troll Magic then.
Interesting.
Sadly, the signature spell for Troll Magic is garbage unless you're running a Troll army. But anyway, how about we just...
Does it only affect trolls?
It's about stupidity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Colwyn Knights.
Yes.
There you
Old
go.
one night.
Put your Wizarding Hat to get a reroll of your stupidity.
Get stupidity on your Wizarding Hat.
Wait, actually, this
It
is...
gives itself a use.
They already have stupidity, yeah. Jesus. I never thought about this before. Interesting. Free wizard. Hold on. You know what?
Hang on, actually,
let's pause the podcast right now. Need to list build.
Wizarding Hat on a guy on a Colwyn is not a downgrade.
It's
Yeah.
not.
That's really interesting.
It is very interesting.
If you get two stupidities, is it like that
No.
episode of The Simpsons where Homer shoves a
Yeah,
crayon up his
extra-
nose?
extra stupid.
You guys really smart.
Kind of Warhammer pencil, or Warhammer crayon up your nose.
Is there a troll character that's not a wizard?
No.
It's just the troll hack.
Okay.
Yeah. But there's let's go into that another
We're
time.
going to take a note of all the stupid characters.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway,
So we're going to do high magic because we've been doing them in order of how many factions can take them. High magic is available to 3 factions. Who can name one?
me, High Elves.
All right, High
Lizard
Elves,
Man.
Lizard Man, and the third faction is Mark.
Fine, Mark.
Oh, wait, sorry.
High Elves, Lizard Man, and
it's going to be Empire, surely.
nope,
No?
they don't get high magic.
They've never gotten High
Really?
Magic.
Okay, and it's going to be a good guy. Good.
You're
faction.
correct. It is a good faction.
Yeah.
There are 2 remaining. Oh, no, there's 3 remaining.
One of them's dwarves, though.
Yeah.
It's not them.
Right. I'm trying to think what are the other good factions? Wood Elf?
There you
Yay.
go. He finally got it. Yes, Wood Elves are the third one.
Seeing as this is a Wood Elf lore, none of us play any of the other factions that have access to it. Do you want to start us off?
I will start us off. I will give you my best High Elf voice. As the High Mage draws the winds of magic to themselves, other wizards find themselves struggling to access their powers. Yes, I don't like high elves.
This is Drain Magic.
Drain Magic, yep, it's a signature spell. It's a hex. It's got a casting value of 9. Range self, which, as we talked about last time, means you can cast it in combat. Remains in play. Whilst this spell is in play, enemy wizards that are within 24 inches of the caster's model when attempting to cast a spell must increase that spell's casting value by 2. I think this is average. And the reason being, first off, it's kind of hard to cast on a 9.
But it's not so hard to cast that it's hard to dispel.
Yeah.
Which is, it remains in play.
It remains in play.
Range self, right?
Range self. But it's actually quite annoying. And it's particularly good against the Ruby Ring, because now your Ruby Ring needs to go off on a
8.
On an 8.
Oh yeah, no, you just don't get the +2, right? So you just have to
No,
roll
your
an
casting value is gone up by 2.
8. Oh, so
See, it normally goes off on an 8, right?
oh, yeah, so you need to roll an 8.
You need to roll an 8 on 2 dice
Yep.
instead of needing to roll a 6.
My
Way
poor
harder.
brain.
Yeah, way harder.
This is also really annoying with the broken stave.
Yes, it is.
Fuck you, you don't get to play.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of, I want to take control of the magic in the game.
Yes, so essentially,
right.
the Bretonian player you played against who didn't have a wizard was at no disadvantage to you.
Correct. Correct.
In the current state of the meta, pretty much everyone's running wizards, right? Unless you're playing a dwarf, they're not running wizards. There isn't really many lists of people that can take wizards that aren't taking wizards. So you're pretty much always going to get some level of value from this. And then if you put it on your wizard who's getting into the fray, like maybe your wizard on a bird or your wizard on a dragon, you're getting so much value out of this. It's pretty wild.
Notably, the 24-inch range is the same as dispel range.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you can dispel them, they're at -2 already. Or plus 2 casting value.
Plus 2 casting value. And now...
That stacks with magic resist.
Well, now your which was it? Your column of crystal, it needs a 12 to go off.
Good luck.
Well, I mean, it's tricky, right? It does make things a lot trickier. And just again, because I'm a bit of a math dork, if you want to roll an 8 or higher on 2d6, you've got a 41.67% chance of doing that. So, and then a 9 or higher, which is, I don't think, is there anything that would need that high?
Not with that magic resist.
Not with that magic resist, yeah. But so a lot of stuff goes from being, yeah, most of the time it goes off to, yeah, maybe you'll get it off. So it's not bad. And because it remains in play, it's got value. However, it remains in play. So it can be dispelled on a 5 by a level 4.
Yeah. I think you need to roll above it, don't you?
Oh yeah, so a
Yeah,
6,
one above it. Yep.
which is 72%.
There's probably some other spell in here in the lore that would make a better signature spell, just because this doesn't feel like it should be a signature spell. It feels most out of place, I think, for me.
It's been
as
a signature spell forever. Like Drain Magic has been
compared to the other lores, though. I mean,
high magic signature spell. This is not what it did before, but
It removed people's spells before, didn't it?
yeah, exactly.
Which is really annoying. This is actually, I was thinking about this since we were talking about allies earlier. I think that this could be an interesting topic. You could use this in a dwarf list to make your dwarves immune to magic, essentially. Stack this with magic resistance.
Can they ally with high elves?
You can. It's suspicious, but you
Oh.
can.
Huh. Interesting.
Well, I know what I'm doing. The duty.
Well, I have some high elf models if you want to borrow
Wow,
them.
fantastic. Yep.
Yeah.
You could even borrow that box of Shadow Warriors again.
Oh yeah, yep. That's great. This is cool. You always have the option to take this because it's a signature spell. So if you run
Yeah.
into a Zinch list or a spellcasty list, you just say, you know what, I'm going to really annoy you today.
that
I'm going
does.
to take this.
Yeah,
It's quite nice.
That's interesting. Is that like if you do take the lore, you do always have this option. It's like I would think this seems very a bit more. I don't know. Just it's not something you could use in every game effectively. But if you have the option of taking it against a list that it could be effective against, it's going to just be really, really useful.
Yeah. I think that's where my it's okay comes from is that in certain situations it'll be strong. In other situations, it could be next to useless.
Against dwarves.
Against dwarves, it's going to be, well, I mean, it only casts, it's only enemy wizards. There we go.
Yep.
So hang on. It doesn't apply to Ruby Ring.
Oh.
It's not enemy spell casting. It's only enemy wizards. So
it doesn't work on bound spells.
Doesn't work on the
Pick-horrors.
anvil.
Okay.
Doesn't work in the Casket of Souls.
Yeah, any of that sort of stuff. So that's it's only wizards. So yeah, against dwarfs, it's basically useless. But still, it's not bad. It's not bad.
Put it on your slan, your frog boy.
I mean, I think that's generally
Yeah.
how he rolls.
I miss the lore of signatures.
Although, yeah, the lore of signatures. Yeah, that used to be great. Like you could take all the signature spells and be able to cast any of them as a
As a slan or as the lore master of Hoth.
yeah.
They are so cool. I love those froggy little boys.
All right. Well, that was Drain Magic. Shall we move on?
Yes, why not?
Who's up next?
I believe it's Ben.
Ben.
Okay. Walk between worlds. The High Mage causes their allies to drift in and out of reality, enabling them to pass through terrain as if it was not there. Is that a good high elf voice? Is
That's
that what
great.
sound like?
I loved it.
I was getting more
Very,
lizard than from that
very
one.
Safari, I thought.
Oh, yeah.
Teclis was right in front of me. With his books right there, so.
This was Teclis before he was Teclis, in his adolescent years. It's a conveyance spell. It casts on a 10 up, range itself. Until your next start of turn subphase, the caster and any unit they have joined gain the ethereal and reserve move special rules. You can give a thing ethereal. That's pretty cool.
So I think excited about this spell because it is range self. You can cast it in combat, and the unit that you're in is now immune to whatever it is you're being hit with, unless it's a magical attack.
The conveyance part of it barely matters.
Who cares? I'm like, yeah, go ahead and hit me.
Reserve move is fine. There's no unit in any of these armies that can get this that really cares about reserve move. I think ethereal is way more value here.
Well, I think reserve. Well, we can come back to reserve move, but I think the nice thing about being a spellcaster with reserve move is that you can move into range for a spell,
Cast your magic missile and then get out of range.
and then get out of range. Exactly. And if you happen to have a broken stave, you
can get back into your
you can
forest.
back into your forest. Exactly.
I hate
This is
you.
annoying. I already don't like this. I mean, it's obviously strong, but it's just such an annoying spell.
Yeah. Ethereal is the real value here. I think this is, of all the spells we've seen that give ethereal, this one is probably the highest value because it is range self.
Yes. You somebody charges your wizard unexpectedly.
Can the Slan join a Temple Guard unit in this edition?
No.
Damn it.
No. He floats within 3 inches.
Weird. Is he infantry or is he a monster?
I'll look that up while we go through the next spells. But
It'd be ridiculous to stick this on a Slan and give a unit of Temple Guard ethereal.
yeah, and I don't think you can.
And the Skink Priests can't take this either?
I think they have elementalism and illusion. I don't know if they have high magic.
Yeah, skink priests have never had.
They've never had high magic, no. It's always been heavens and beasts, yeah?
Yeah, that's what it was historically. Yeah.
Anyway.
So the Slan counts as monstrous infantry.
So is there a rule that says he specifically cannot join the Temple Guard? Because if there's not, then he can. Technically, he can
No.
join Croxagors.
There is no rule that I can see. Let me have a look at the Temple Guard just in case.
Ooh.
How fast is he actually?
He flies, doesn't he?
Yeah, so he can join the Temple Guard, but he does fly. He's on a weird size base, so he doesn't go in the Temple Guard anymore.
No, he sticks on the side.
Sticks on the side. He's on a 50 by 50. So yeah, he could absolutely join the unit of Temple Guard and make them ethereal.
Wow, that's a Lizardman Death Star.
Yeah,
Yeah, wow,
cool.
that is really strong.
that's not bad. Shield Wall and Stubborn on the Temple Guard,
They're going nowhere.
which is a great
Oh, and this isn't even remains in play, so you can stick
Next turn.
Yeah,
until your
Chance
next turn.
again.
Yeah,
We're probably not going to get it off though every time with 10 plus, but if you have
it's 10 plus.
Oh yeah. The
Open
other thing
save.
with reserve move, you can use it to walk and then cast a magic missile and then walk again, because you can't cast magic missiles if you march.
That's right. That's right.
So that is quite a useful thing.
I'm just thinking Star Dragon. Like, you know,
Yeah.
a dragon you can't even harm.
Ethereal Star Dragon is really strong.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting is the Temple Guard could march, then the Slan Mage could fly 8 inches and join them. Do they get... no, they can't reserve move.
Because it's the unit.
After you've marched.
Can behemoths form a unit?
No,
Behemoths cannot join any units.
Okay.
not at all,
That makes
sadly.
sense.
Well, I'm really disappointed because...
the downside of putting the Slan in the unit is that they have moved 2. Oh, no, it's fly, right? Yeah. Fly
Yeah,
8.
he's
So
fly
it
8.
doesn't matter.
he can't fly.
Oh, yeah.
He can't fly when he's in the unit.
So
that would be the downside.
It does slow him down, so they can only march 4, and then he can't cast magic missiles.
Is there anything else you could put the massive frog in with?
Nothing flying.
It would be the same. Well,
Actually,
Like the Ripperdactyls or whatever they're called?
no, monstrous infantry can't.
Infantry can't join cavalry,
Yeah.
Cavalry. Yeah.
and he is monsters. He's actually a monstrous creature, so he can't join units at all.
He's monstrous infantry, I think.
No, monstrous creature, it says right here.
I'm looking at the PDF.
So am I. Monstrous creature. It's troop type for Slan Mage Priest.
Whoa, are we looking at 2 different PDFs? Yeah, because look, mine says monstrous infantry.
I'm at the Warhammer Community PDF.
Yeah, me too. So
What the fuck?
Do you do we have 2 different versions?
How do we see that?
Did they update the version
Where would the version be?
in the
Stealth
very
update.
front? I would guess.
There's no version.
I don't have a version either. Whoa, it's a conspiracy. Okay, well, we'll resolve that one later. Let's go on to the next.
Yep.
This is great
Magic
content for the
spell.
town crier.
Yeah.
Game
Quick,
Workshop
go back.
strikes again.
This just in, Slan Mage Priests.
Monstrous infantry or monstrous creature.
The controversy has yet to be resolved. Anyway, next up is Fiery Convocation. At the High Mage's bidding, a roiling storm of fire erupts within the midst of the enemy line. It is a magic missile with a casting value of 10 plus, range of 18 inches. Place a large 5-inch blast template so the central hole is directly over the center of the target enemy unit. Once placed, the template will scatter d3 plus 1 inches. Any enemy model whose base lies underneath the template's final position risks being hit, and suffering a strength 4 hit with an AP of -2. These hits have the flaming attack special rule. Imagine if Fireball used a template.
Against Tomb Kings, this is going to be pretty...
So is Fireball.
5-inch template.
This is harder to cast than Fireball and often won't get as many hits. And scatters.
5 inches is
What's-
pretty big, right? What's the...
But it's AP2.
Oh, right, AP2, that's the
yeah,
big deal.
strength 4 AP2.
Yeah, I don't like anything that scatters.
Me neither.
I have seen scattering stuff do nothing. Literally, that's
Yeah.
what the signature spell for the Dark Elves did. It just moved to the left.
The nice thing is that it's only D3 plus 1.
Yeah,
so
2 to 4 inches,
you will
right?
always... Oh, no, you won't, because it's not 5 inches in every direction.
Yeah.
So unless you roll a 1, it's not going to hit something
Well,
center.
you've got a 1 in 3 chance of it centering because if you roll a hit on the scatter dice, it just goes where you place it.
That's true.
Does
Which
it not
there's-
scatter anyway? Because there's an arrow on the
No,
the
it
bullseye.
says once placed, the template will scatter.
I think
And
that scattering...
There's rules for scatter that say, I think that you get a hit. See page 95. Let's see here. If a hit is rolled on the scatter dice, the object does not move. So yeah, pretty clear, cut and dry. 1 in 3 chance that it will hit where it's supposed to hit.
Okay, I was actually playing that wrong before. I was using the tiny little arrow on the hit die.
Yeah,
Or on the scatter die, sorry.
you do that if it says move a thing in a random direction. Like, so for the vortex, if it says vortex, move it in a random direction, you use the arrow then because it's not saying scatter it.
Mm-hmm.
But if something says scatter, you use the hit as stay in place.
Gotcha.
Well, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So 1 in 3 chance of centering, and then a 1 in 3 chance of going 2 inches, and then 3 and then 4.
Yep.
Separate 1 in 3 chance.
Yeah. On a 10 plus though, like this is the
damage isn't amazing for a 10 plus, and it's a template, so it's already not going to be hitting that much. even if
18-inch
it centers.
range, that's 6 inches less than Fireball.
yeah.
But also you have the template distance to account for, I suppose.
In most situations, I just rather have Fireball.
Yeah.
No, it's 18 inches.
And then it has to go over the center of the unit.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's like you can hit stuff.
Oh, hang on, no. So you target a unit within 18 inches. So if there's a 15 by 1 line, and you can get within 18 inches of one model,
Yeah.
You place it over the center of the whole unit, even if that's 20 inches away.
Yep. Yeah.
So that's interesting. I still like Fireball better than this.
Yeah.
Templates are bad.
It's not the worst template I've seen.
It's
But
not.
yeah.
It's not awful, but it's not amazing.
If I got this, I wouldn't be happy, but I also wouldn't be, Phantasmagoria.
It's at least a magic missile, but yeah.
Yeah. All right, Mark.
Oh, right, that's right. I can read. High elf voice.
Don't think too hard.
I actually can't think of a high elf voice.
Do a silly voice then, because you don't like them.
Tempest. The high rage summons forth a tempest of rain and sleet, the center of which is all but impenetrable. Oh wait, this is Mickey Mouse again, isn't it?
It is.
Fuck's sake.
It's all right.
Mickey Mouse is a wizard. We've seen this. He's a sorcerer's apprentice.
All right, good. All right, we're still in character then. It's a magical vortex with a casting value of 9+, range of 12. It's a remains in play. Place the small 3-inch blast template so that its central hole is within 12 inches of the caster. Once in play, the template does not move and is treated as dangerous terrain. Once within 6 inches of the template, enemy units treat open ground as difficult terrain and difficult terrain as dangerous terrain.
I don't like this spell.
No, I don't.
This is a signature spell swap for me.
Yep. Short range, high-ish casting value.
It's not even high enough to protect it from getting dispelled easily, and it's a remains in play, so it's going to get dispelled immediately. And it only affects stuff in the movement phase, which is the same issue Phantasmagoria has.
Yeah, and it's
Its effect is at least a little bit more noticeable in that it slows them down by 1 or 2 inches, but
It doesn't scatter, which I do like. I would say when I was playing
Neither
against
does
the
Phantasmagoria.
when I was playing against Stephen, this probably would have helped an awful lot more than that dark magic spell I had. Now, obviously, I couldn't take it, but situationally, if you have someone who's just doing loads and loads of moving with cavalry and all that, and again, his list was very skewed in the fact that it was literally just Bretonnian knights, but still,
like difficult terrain and dangerous terrain don't actually do a whole lot.
-1 movement for difficult terrain, and then
Dangerous terrain.
dangerous terrain does a bit.
I mean, there's a 1 in 6 chance you'll do a wound,
Yeah,
which
but
is not
per model,
nothing,
right?
Yeah, per model, it's not nothing.
It hurts occasionally. Like I've lost a couple models to dangerous terrain.
But yeah, I think
For a 12-inch range vortex, it's kind of bad.
and going off on a 9+. Yeah,
if you can go around it.
I agree. This is the number one trade out spell in my opinion
So far.
in this. Yeah, so far in the lore. All right, should we go on?
Yeah.
Corporeal Unmaking is the next spell. I'll try and go with a lizardman voice this time. The physical forms of the High Mage's enemies begin to unravel, turning to dust on the wind. There you go. That's my best lizardman. It's an assailment spell. It goes off on an 8+, so obviously it's combat range because it's an assailment. A single enemy unit with the caster is engaged in combat with suffers D3 strength 5 hits, with no armor or regen saves permitted, but you can do your ward saves. So D3 strength 5.
This is fine. It's like a wind blast in close combat that doesn't allow armor saves.
Yeah, it's okay.
For an assailment, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so the tricky part about this is the rest. So maybe if you had, I'm trying to think about like what wizard build might you want to have corporeal unmaking in?
Lizardmen can't get access to illusion, correct?
Yeah, they can. They do. They have on the skinks,
Oh, right,
I
yeah.
think.
So in that case, I think that any situation where you want to build for this, you could just build for Spectral Doppelganger, because that is available to every faction who has this lore.
Well, I think if you're doing the walk between worlds thing where you're like, oops, ethereal, this is thinking about a backline wizard. This is a defensive assailment. Right?
Yeah.
Somebody chucks fast moving chaff
Great
wizard
Eagle.
hunting type thing at you. This
kill
will
Great
actually,
Eagles
this will
nicely.
actually do some damage and make it so you might win combat.
I mean, if we compare it to Hammer Hand, which is
That's
cast
exactly
on a
what I was
7
gonna
up,
do.
yeah, that's 2d3 strength 4 hits, AP -2. So you're losing a strength
And
you're losing
AP.
a d3.
Like, you're losing strength, you're losing...
You don't need AP on this one.
Actually, no, you're gaining strength. You're gaining anti-armor, and you're gaining anti-regen. You're losing D3 attacks.
Yeah.
And
So
1 casting value.
Just it's like a hammer hand that's better against chunkier targets.
Yeah, I think that in general, assailment spells, the more attacks, the better. High strength it's not really a thing for me. I've always seen like having many attacks go in is the way to go. Just high strength just never really seems to do anything, and usually there's some sort of like AP value in it anyway. Like with hammer hand -2, plus it's 8. It's not worth 8. I don't think. This is a 7+ for me. It doesn't seem like it's worth it. But in the context of the rest of the lore, I suppose at least there's an assailment there. It could be better, but
I think this is the second
Trade out.
contestant for trading out. Yeah.
Yeah. I tend to agree. I tend to think about that for assailments in general, though. If
you're not running a combat wizard, it's kind of not great.
Right. And the 3 armies that can take it, Slan, you never want to be a combat wizard. So really it's, do you want to have a wood elf wizard in combat or a high elf wizard in combat?
The only argument I could see would be high elf wizard with some dragons, but
Yeah.
The
again,
chariot thing,
spectral doppelganger.
an
Chariot.
ethereal dragon. Yeah.
Well, yeah, yeah, exactly. Because spectral doppelganger is a thing, and everybody who can get this spell can also get spectral doppelganger. This kind of feels a bit, it pales in comparison. Let's say that for sure.
The lore is better defensively for
Yeah.
the combat wizard.
I agree.
I was just going to say you hit the nail on the head there. It's a nice defensive thing.
It's a
So if
defensive
I do end up in combat, at least I can kill something.
Yep.
So,
It's a nice to have.
Yeah.
Yep. Or, and we haven't really considered this, but if you have a very fast moving, highly mobile, like,
Wizard on the Warhawk?
Wizard on a Warhawk type, they might be good at also occasionally taking out war machines or that sort of thing.
The high elf steeds are speed 9, right?
Yeah, they
Move
are.
9.
Yeah. Or on a unicorn, right? Something that has a bit of oomph when you charge. I'm not sure. I haven't really thought it through, but I'm just trying to find reasons for the spell.
I will say it is at least a little bit better than the 2 assailments that Dark Magic has. I prefer this over taking or getting both of those.
Yeah. Yeah. But I just think as a group, we tend to be a bit meh on assailments. So
I think dark magic is like, in a lot of cases, these spells are mirroring the dark magic ones, and they are just better for the most part. Finally, it's flipped.
yeah, because Dark Elves aren't a core faction anymore. No. All right, Ben.
isn't it you?
No, I just did that one.
Oh, okay.
Elizabeth voice, remember?
Elizabeth voice.
So memorable.
Well, now these two are both named after elf things, so we should just go back to elf voices.
Oh yeah, I'll do a wood elf voice.
For Kane?
Yeah.
Because you can't do a Dark Elf voice?
Fury of Cain. The High Mage beseeches Cain, god of murder, to bestow his fury on the High Mage's allies.
Nice.
Very wood elfy voice.
I liked it.
Because Wood Elf, who grew up in
That's
central London in the 1800s. Alright, it's an enchantment spell that casts on a 9-up with a range of 12 inches. Until the end of this turn, the target friendly unit gains the extra attacks +1 special rule. This spell may target a friendly unit engaged in combat. Get out of town. That's pretty good.
That's actually a good spell. Yes.
That's a really good spell. I think this is really good on a Slan.
Yep.
Stick them out the back of your Temple Guard, have them run forward and fight whatever you're fighting, and then cast this on them.
Yes.
That's very good. Yeah. It's a nice little Death Star-y type thing, maybe. Before you charge? Oh, no, you can
Doesn't
do this
matter.
before you charge. Yeah.
You've had some success using this as a on Wild Riders, yeah?
Yeah. I've got it off once or twice. Having an extra attack from a unit that already has a lot of attacks. I mean, it is a win more sort of spell, but it does go from, you having maybe 3 or 4 kills to having 5 or 6 kills, which is usually the difference between them getting to attack back and
It's like an entire
and
rank.
not.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, which is really what you want. So
It's also a nice thing, it combos with Frenzy. Unlike things that give Frenzy, you can combo this with anything that gives extra attacks, anything that gives Frenzy. Just get big.
Furious Charge.
nice.
It's more extra attacks for sure.
And it's not that hard to cast, and it's not remains in play.
Right. And so your Temple Guard, who already have 2 attacks, now go to having 3 attacks.
That's really scary.
Yeah.
What if the Lizardmen now?
Yeah. I mean, the downside is like they're only strength 4.
Can't they give
They
some
don't get
strength
great
boosting weapons?
weapons. They get obsidian blades.
I think it's just some AP.
Saurus get 2 attacks as well, if I'm not mistaken. Just the normal Saurus guys. So you can have just a big block, get some pretty nice value.
And they can
out
take
of that.
spears too.
Yeah.
Although the spear guys don't get extra attacks.
Yep.
That'd be neat.
Yeah.
Hey, wait, how would that work? Okay, so then because the guys in the back are getting...
They're just doing supporting attacks like
Yeah.
guys on the flanks.
Yeah, but then would they also get the extra attacks as well?
No, they can only make one supporting attack.
Yeah. So your front
Okay.
rank would be attacking with 3 attacks, but
Every other guy who's not in contact
I
gets
was
one
thinking
attack.
for a second there because they were trying to limit that with the whole, back rank support and attack thing with Elizabeth because it's round 4 and because they already have 2 attacks. Would this be a way around that? And, you end up with like
The
5
answer is
attacks
no.
instead of 3.
You can never get around the one supporting attack per guy. This also actually applies to cavalry units. If you have a 10 wide cavalry unit charging a 5 wide infantry unit, the cavalry horses don't get to attack as well.
yeah, you only get one
attack,
supporting attack from the model.
Yeah.
I would love this on my Witch Elves, but I don't think Dark Elves have access to this,
Nope.
unfortunately.
The only good guys have access to this.
Weirdly, even though it's called Fury of Cain, your Dark Elves can't get
And
it.
even though it's called Fury, you don't get either Furious Charge or Frenzy.
Yeah.
They're like
Weird
Cain,
name for a spell.
just not Cain in that way, with high magic.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's not the way that
We like Cain,
Jay
but we
wants to
don't like
worship.
being angry.
Yeah, exactly. We need to be angry in our way. That's about it.
Anyway. Shield of Sapphire. White light bursts forth from the High Mage's outstretched hands, clinging to armor and arcing overhead to form a protective barrier around their allies. It is an enchantment with a casting value of 9+, range of 18 inches. Until the end of this turn, the target friendly unit gains a 5+ ward save against any wounds suffered. If this spell is cast, the effects of any other enchantments previously cast on the target immediately expire.
5 award? Go away.
This is
so annoying.
It's Oaken Shield.
Ugh.
But it scrubs enchantments.
Yeah, is it as good as Oaken Shield? Oaken Shield is until your next start of turn subphase and goes off on a 7, and it's range self, so you can cast in combat.
Oaken Shield is way better.
Yeah, but it's the caster and any unit they've joined, whereas this one, I think, is
18 inches.
Yeah, right. So it's
Again, it's good for your Slan or
Slan.
out of combat caster.
Yep.
But at the same time, the downside is that you can't cast it on units in combat, and anything that you've cast on them previously, which in this case is only Shield of Cain or Fury of Cain, but you have to cast that first, and it doesn't allow you to stack other spells with it.
Yep. And you can't cast it into combat.
That's the really big deal,
I think that's the really big deal. So you're going to have to cast it and then charge.
And you only get until the end of this turn, so it's on your charge.
It's on your charge. Yeah, it's okay.
It's definitely okay.
Yeah.
It suits the playstyle. I'm kind of getting a view of high magic here that it's sort of like you have a wizard who's amongst various units. You probably move him in and out of units, casting spells.
Yep.
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm getting from it.
I mean, I took it on the Warhawk Wizard and experimented with it for one event. There's some value in it. I think there's more value in battle magic. I think the what you can roll in battle magic is better than what you can roll in this. Like if you were choosing the spells, always being able to have Fury of Cain, always being able to have
The ethereal one.
Yep,
Walk between worlds. Yeah.
Um,
Those are the only 2 really good spells in the lore, though.
yeah, they're really good. I think the drain magic is pretty good, and then you take a signature.
You can't, because drain magic is a signature.
Drain magic, yeah, you can't take the lore.
Yeah,
or
so
something else.
I think you probably end up getting Shield of Sapphire.
Shield of Sapphire.
It's good, right? It's not as good as the other one, but it's still really good. A 5 award is great.
5
for a
award's 5
unit.
award, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Not every-
especially on a missile unit, like if you put it on a big unit of
Yeah.
Glade Guard or something.
I like this on a Slan. I think I'd really like this on a Slan. Give him the Apotheosis to heal up whatever.
Yep.
And then have just Shield of Sapphire to protect him from shooting, Fury of Cain, and Walk Between Worlds.
Yeah.
Or maybe put Fire and Convocation on him even, just to get some shooting off.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's okay.
It's okay. For this lore, I'd give it a B.
I think it's a C.
B. It's I can see this being really annoying against my gunline lists. Just making it harder to shoot people. You can't kill the big thing. That ethereal spell
That is the highlight.
knocks it up from C
Yeah.
into B for me. That is the star of the show here. So
I agree with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say conditionally. So if you take a lore familiar, B, if you don't, and you're just rolling your spells, you could get into a really bad situation where
You roll
wizard
Fiery
is not-
Convocation, Tempest.
they're just not able to do anything that you want, and you're going against dwarves, so Drain Magic is useless. I mean, I really don't like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of the few lores where there is a situation where this is a useless lore.
And I do also think there's some value in mentioning that the 5-foot wards, not every lore gets that. So like we have Earthen Ramparts, we have Oaken Shield from Battle Magic, we have this, and I think is there any more? Are there any more?
I don't think so. I'll double check.
No, but it is fair to say that elementalism and battle magic are the two most common. So pretty much everybody has access to a 5-up ward spell.
I think everyone has access to one of those, and all three of these armies definitely do. All three of these armies have access to both battle magic and elementalism, actually. So you've got your choice of 5-up wards.
Yeah. The only army that doesn't is vampire counts,
Yep.
and they can suck it.
Yeah. Suck blood.
That was indeed the pun. Okay. So we've done high magic. On to Dawa.
Mark, did you want to give it a grade as well?
He did.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I
His
would
was
say,
conditional. Yeah.
Sure.
See in general.
All right. Then the last one.
Yeah, so Waaagh magic, obviously only orcs and goblins can take Waaagh magic unless you're into Wizarding Hat territory.
Which I'm going to look up about right after this. The fact that I can put a cold one sorceress, or not even a cold one sorceress, a cold one master.
Hero,
Oof,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's going to be big. I'm going to take out my Malus Darkblade model and I'm going to green stuff him a really stupid looking
You
hat.
could give an assassin a Wizarding Hat.
It would be stupid.
I don't know. Would it?
No, what's the leadership of the assassin? Is it 8 or 9?
Does it matter? It's probably 8.
Yeah, leadership.
Oh
8.
wait, it might be 9. It could be high leadership, but you just can't use it as your general, and you can't use leadership for anything really with the assassin
Other than stupidity and break tests.
yeah. No, I don't think you'd be allowed to use his for even the unit. I'd have to double check. He has the loner special rule.
Loner means you can't join units.
Yeah, but there might be something else in there. Like he has something about not using his leadership for other things. Well, he's always had that.
You can't be the
stuff
general.
on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll have to double check that actually.
Anyway,
Oh, you know what? The
interesting.
Death Hag could have it.
orcs and goblins who have this
saying.
lore.
Yeah. Sorry, we're just getting a little distracted. Thank you for keeping us on target.
Yeah.
The Fist a Gork or Mork signature spell. It says in brackets, but I'm going to say it anyway. This is Moi, lower, or magic.
Is this your English accent? I'm so offended.
This is his best work accent.
Yes, you'll be. In response to the shaman's frantic hopping and gesticulating, I don't know what that means, a great green fist materializes from the air and wallops the foe.
He just sounds very Australian.
Oh,
You're right.
Yeah.
Right, mate, I'm going to go throw a fist of gork, yeah?
My defense, I haven't played as orcs and goblins in Total War in quite a while now. I did enjoy playing with them.
You know,
but I
Wurzag,
did.
gesticulating is what he does.
Dancing. It's an assailment spell, casting value of 9+, range is combat. Place a large 5-inch blast template so that central hold is directly over the center of a unit the caster is engaged in combat with. Once placed, the template will scatter D3+1. Any model, friend or foe, whose base lies underneath the template's final position risks being hit, as described on page 95, and suffers a single strength 4 hit with an AP of -1.
10 out of 10. Let's move on.
Let's not. I have some things to say about this.
So you could hit your own guys.
Yes, and you probably will if it doesn't scatter.
It's very orky.
Yeah.
So the problem with this is if you want to put it on the captain or the death hag or the assassin, they're probably going to hit themselves. If they don't charge a really deep unit and it doesn't scatter, then it's going to hit yourself. And it's not even
Well, you have to put it so the central hole is directly over the center of the unit that the caster is engaged in combat with. So at the size of units that people are running at the moment, that likely means it's going to hit your unit anyway.
yeah.
So the question is, does it do more damage to you or to the opponent? And in a orc and goblin army, the answer is, who cares? But but in Dark Elves, that actually makes a bit of a difference.
I don't know that this is worth running on your Cold One character.
Anyway,
I think it's a fine assailant. It's nice to have, but it's a signature spell, so
I think that in Orc and Goblin list, you're almost always going to take something from Lore of Mork or Lore of Gork instead of this spell.
Yeah. It's ridiculous how many fucking signature spells Orcs and Goblins have. They have 5 signature spells exclusive to them. This one technically with Wizarding Hat.
Yeah, maybe more. Okay.
But yeah, anyway.
Fist of Gork.
No, sorry. You're right. They have 8.
I wouldn't run it. I wouldn't run it if there were other choices.
How many points would a Goblin Shaman cost, actually? Does anyone know?
It's like 40-ish. He's very cheap.
Oh, no. There's no spellcaster is that cheap.
Goblin Oddgit is 60 points.
Yeah, it's cheap.
I mean, it's cheap, but it's not 40.
Oh, it's 55 for the Night Goblin one.
Yep.
It's 15 points off. Like,
I mean, yeah, but I mean, a level 1, it needs to roll an 8 to get this off, and then it's only in combat, so
it's only in combat. It's not that amazing.
Put him on, on a wolf in a unit of cheap wolf riders, only 5+. Bunker him.
Yeah,
And then you kill your wolf riders when you do it.
Yeah, I think it's more like Wyvern guy.
Dude,
This is strength 4 and AP 1, so it's going to kill your wolf riders if it hits them.
I tell
that's
you
the
now,
point.
nobody's
They're
going to
expendable.
take this spell because there's just so many better spell options.
Itchy Nuisance.
Itchy Nuisance is the only spell you'll ever take when you've got goblins. It's so good.
Should we cover those?
No, I think we'll cover them when we do the Orcs and Goblin deep dive. But you know, this is a weird lore because it's only available to Orcs and Goblins.
With Wizarding Hat exceptions.
Yes, with Wizarding Hat exceptions. Exactly. All right, let's get on to Vindictive Glare.
I can imagine the Wizarding Hat, being the Sorting Hat from Harry Potter, but it's speaking in an orc accent. Right, Slytherin you are.
Sorting Hat.
Ben is shaking his head right now.
All right.
Sorry, Ben. We're very offensive.
It's fine.
Yeah. All right, Vindictive Glare. Their brows furrowed and their teeth clenched, their shaman's glare is so intense that their enemies visibly wither. This is way too highfalutin language for an orc, but there you go.
I know, it doesn't feel right, does it?
It's a magic missile. It goes off on an 8+ range of 21 inches, which is decent. The target enemy unit suffers a single strength 7 hit with the multiple wounds D3 special rule and with no armor save permitted. You can get ward and regen saves. This spell may target an enemy unit engaged in combat.
Fuck your Steam Tank.
Your dragon.
I like that.
That is not bad. Strength 7 hit, really good range. Only goes off on an 8+.
Targets in combat.
I mean, this is a magic missile that actually feels, I'm not going to say it's better than Fireball, but it feels like, it's got its own separate use case and is decent in an alternative.
There are like 2 magic missiles you can target into combat, and this is one of them, and this is a good one to target into combat.
Strength 7. I think that's the highest strength spell for sure.
I think that this is really good, especially if you're behind your unit. You can cast it into large targets over them because you can see them.
That's true.
So you can stick your shaman at the back of your unit of orcs that's fighting the dragon, and then zap him with the Vindictive Glare.
Or if you're on an Arachnarok and you are a large target,
You can see everyone.
you can see everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. Vindictive Glare, solid spell.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very good.
It feels like you're going to get screwed over sometimes when you roll that 1 to wound, but it's a game of dice.
Hey, just trap the big thing that you're fighting in a unit of chaff or cheap things, and have your shaman's Vindictive Glare it while it's trapped in the.
Stare at it really hard.
Yeah.
I love the fact that it's literally just them grimacing at someone.
Yeah.
All right, number 2.
All right, show us how it's done then.
Hand of Mork or Gulk. A huge green hand appears from above, and with great care, flicks a hero across the battlefield.
Nice. Ba-twing.
Ba-twing.
Oh man, it's like playing Subbuteo with your mom. Watch out. Ba-twing.
Shatters against the wall.
That goes 50 quid.
This is.
Imagine doing that to someone's dragon.
Oh, gosh.
The metal ones.
You had to put on the green glove first, though.
All right, let's read the effect here.
Type is Conveyance. Casting value is a 7-up. Range is 18 inches.
This spell can only target friendly characters, but may target characters engaged in combat. You may immediately remove the target friendly character from the battlefield and replace it anywhere within 2d6 of its original location, but not within 3 inches of enemy models. However, if a double 1 is rolled, the character lands badly and loses a single wound. Note that this spell allows a character to leave combat. I'm so confused.
So, remember Travel Mystical Pathway
Yeah.
from a couple lores ago? The one that allows you to escape combat with a character. This one is...
The orc version.
Yes. So you have your big shaman in the back, and he yoinks your other character out of combat when he's losing. And then... Or even... They charge in the front. The orc shaman picks him up and puts him behind the enemy unit facing their rear and gets a rear charge in on them. There's a lot of fun things you
Yeah.
can do here with that.
It's very low casting cost.
It also doesn't only affect infantry. You can use this on a dragon.
Or wyvern. I was going to say.
Wyvern, yeah.
It's 2d6. That isn't very far, right?
7
or
inches.
Ragnarok.
7 inches on average. Yeah, so if you want to
over.
get another charge off, you want 3 inches for the max initiative bonus.
It'd be good against single rank units or
Yeah.
like a Bretonian Duke on a Hippogriff or Royal Pegasus.
Yeah, on average, if they're 4 deep and you're casting the average value...
4 deep is deep.
Yeah, so you're probably going to get in a good range, but it's not that reliable.
You
compared
probably
to some
easily get a
other ones.
flank.
Yeah, you can get a flank. I like it. It casts on a 7-up. It's pretty easy.
Its low casting cost has got that going for it.
And it's funny.
It's funny. It's definitely got that going for it too.
That's very important for spells. All right, next up. Bad Moon Rising.
Very good.
The shaman summons a great pale moon above the battlefield, trembling under its baleful gaze. The enemy can barely lift their weapons. It is a hex with a casting value of 10 plus, range of 15 inches. Until the end of the turn, the target enemy unit suffers a minus D3 modifier to its weapon skill and initiative characteristics to a minimum of 1. This is situationally amazing. If you're fighting elves, you can make them... Oh, hang on. Is it 1d3 to both?
Yes.
Or is it the same, or is it two different ones?
You chuck a D3 and then it gets that much negative to both
Right.
both stats.
So if you roll that 3, you're probably going first, and you're probably hitting on 3s,
Yep.
no matter what you're fighting. This screws over elves in a lot of cases.
Yep.
It's...
In fact, you might end up being even hitting on 2s if it's characters that you're hitting with.
Yeah. That's a really solid spell,
It's very solid.
especially when combined with Itchy Nuisance.
Yeah, we really,
Should we just cover Itchy Nuisance as well?
I think we're going to have
I'm
to because
very
we brought it
curious.
up so much.
Yeah.
It's such a good
I
spell.
haven't actually heard of this spell. I was like,
That's
what
very
is this?
good.
It sounds very funny.
We'll cover it in just a sec then.
Good.
They've appropriately put the ranges short and the casting value as high because this is a strong spell. So it's not, crazy, but it's very good.
The range isn't uselessly short.
Yeah.
Yep.
15 inches. If they're about to charge you or you're about to charge them, you get this off the turn before.
Yeah.
No, it can't be the turn before, though. Until the end of this
Oh.
turn. Oh, so that kind of sucks. It only lasts during your turn,
You have to cast it in your command phase
and it doesn't work in
combat, so it has to be a target you're going to charge.
Yeah. So that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
I think there's a good build for... I know we were saying we don't like wizards on things, but I quite like Orc Shaman on a Wyvern with this Lore of Magic. You get some quite nice stuff.
Can orcs get illusion?
No.
No,
Okay.
Night Goblins can.
Night
Interesting.
goblins, yeah.
Interesting.
Nice.
Well, we still need to see the other 3 spells though, so maybe I'm wrong. But this is what I'm pointing towards right now.
All right, Mark.
Evil sun shining.
There you go.
The sun is out. And there's an enemy over there. It's a great day for a battle. Have at it, boys.
There we go.
That
That's
was
so
better. I like that. Well
Thank you
done.
very much. That was not shit.
And that's how orcs should be
R.I.P.
talking
headphone
as well.
users, yeah.
It's the right words.
It's an enchantment with a casting value of 9 plus, range of self. Until your next start of turn subphase, friendly units that are within the caster's command range may reroll any rolls to hit of a natural 1 and improve the AP characteristics of their weapon by 1. That's
This is baller.
That's
I
amazing.
Love it.
only 9 plus.
Yeah.
Rerolling ones to hit. Hard to get that effect in general. It isn't present anywhere else in Orcs and Goblins. Really, really strong. Additional AP. Really, really strong for Orcs and Goblins who don't have lances.
But they do have choppas,
They do have choppas.
right? So now your choppas are an additional
Additional
AP.
lances.
Two,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
There's a lot of really good stuff there.
And so it's range self, so you can cast it in combat.
Repeatedly.
And it's anything within your command range. So
Oh, right. Yeah. Wow.
if you are, whatever your leadership is, that's your command range.
Or if you're the general, it's 12.
If you're the general, it's 12. If you're the general and you're a large target, it's 18.
Same with the BSB for both those.
Yeah. So, this is if you are on the Arachnarok or on a Wyvern, that's got a heck of a range.
And it's a really good effect.
And it lasts until the next start of turn subphase, so you get 2 full combat rounds of re-rolling the ones and having the extra AP.
And the enemy does not get to dispel it during their turn.
Exactly.
That's nuts.
So I think this is a really good buff.
So far, probably the best spell in the lore.
Well, that's not... Yeah, maybe.
None of them so far seem
It's
to
pretty
have been
good.
bad.
Oh, there's so many good spells in this lore so far, though.
It is. It's good. It's a good spell. I like it a lot. I love the combination of Bad Moon Rising and Evil Sun Shining.
Yeah.
So, all right, number 5. Here we go. The shaman begins a simple chant, which is quickly and enthusiastically taken up by the mates. Well, it's actually friends, but I figured it would be mates. It's an enchantment. It goes off on a 9+. It's also range self. All right. Any friendly unit that is within the caster's command range, again, during the declare charges and charge reaction subphase of this turn, increases its maximum possible charge range by 3 inches, and when it makes a charge roll, may apply a +D3 modifier to the result.
What if everyone had additional Swift Stride?
I mean, it's kind of like Swift Stride. It's not quite. It's Swift Stride light because you get +D3 rather than +D6.
It's true.
It goes with Swift Stride.
Yeah. That's
So
the big thing.
if you already have Swift Stride, now your possible charge range is increased by 6 inches, and you roll an extra D6 and an extra D3. Pretty darn good.
Nice to have on that large target caster.
Yeah. To me, it feels like now your build is that sort of very orky rush forward mob.
Poor boys as
Yeah.
well.
And you got the big central shaman on his big monster.
Everybody rush forward together. Here we go, lads. Let's just get into them and hit them with the pointy sticks. I mean, this is... I love the flavor of it all.
Yep.
This spell and the previous 3 spells, they all seem to be, buffs or debuffs, something to get models out of combat, something to get models into combat. I mean, if something is getting in the way of you charging them, like I think you mentioned the earlier on, that situation where you, Finton, had to charge your guys in the rear of the unit. You know, if something is in the way like that, you have a spell to get, to prevent that from happening. So at least, this spell and the previous 3, they all synergize really well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it also obviously it's written for orcs and it's only available to orcs and goblins. It feels very thematic with that unit.
Two command range spells in a row, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's not something you really see in any of the.
I think
There's no other lore that gives you command range spells, period.
I don't think so. Like, we've covered them all, and this is the first I'm remembering. Maybe there's one other.
I think there might be one other.
Yeah.
But
It's
like
almost like a priest, like a priest
a
of
warrior
Sigma,
priest, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's because that's kind
He's
of the
a
flavor,
shaman, yeah.
He's a priest of Mork and Gork.
Yeah.
Cool.
Or possibly Gork.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It all depends on whether he's brutal but cunning or cunning but brutal.
Yeah.
All right, Ben.
Last but not least, or possibly least,
Foot of Gork or Mork. There's a massive green foot on the battlefield, and it appears to be moving.
it's a magical vortex with a casting value of 8 up and a range of 15 inches. Okay, this is a long one again. Remains in play. Place a large 5-inch blast template so that its central hole is within 15 inches of the caster. Whilst in play, the template is treated as dangerous terrain. The template moves 2d6 inches in a random direction during every start of turn subphase. Any unit, friend or foe, the moving template touches or moves over suffers d3 plus 3 strength 5 hits, each with an AP of -1.
Look how they massacred my boy.
I know. Foot of Gork used to be literally game defining.
It had a foot-shaped template.
I loved it. and you would roll and you would squish a whole bunch of dudes. And then there was a opportunity that it would come back and it would stomp again, and you might end up like stomping multiple times.
This could repeat infinitely if you were lucky enough.
If you were lucky enough, yeah. Anyway, sadly, it is now a round foot.
It is now a round foot that kind of scrapes over the battlefield in a way very similar to other magical vortices.
Yeah.
But now it can hurt your guys.
I like it. I mean, I played against this. It just floated around for a bit, like most magical templates do. But if you do get it off, it's 5 strength 5 hits with an AP of -1.
I do like the fact that it's
That's
like
pretty spicy.
minimum 4, isn't it?
Yes, minimum 4. You're probably going to get 5 or possibly 6.
The fact that it's strength 5 is nice, but I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't like magical vortices. This is probably one of the better vortices, but I'm not a fan of this.
It's only 8+ as well, so you're going to get it off
And
most times.
2d6 each turn.
This is your signature swapper, I
So-
think. Grab that
Um,
itchy nuisance or
yeah.
whatever.
It's like competitively, it's probably not the best, but if you want to play that orc list that many people like to play, where you're just like Hail Mary,
Hope everything goes well, and all my
everything
models
goes
will
well.
die to my own stuff.
this will be funny.
Yeah.
This is perfect for you. When I play orcs, this is what I will be taking. I think it's
Nice.
very fun. Yeah, there we go. It's the end of the list.
It is, and just because we said we'd cover it, I'm going to read out itchy nuisance.
It's my turn, excuse you.
Oh, fine. If you've got
Do
it,
it.
you read it.
Doing a
Alright.
night goblin voice.
I'll see if I can do a night goblin voice. Let me get my nasally up
Don't they all sound like Waluigi?
a little bit.
Itchy nuisance. The shaman begins vigorously scratching and cackling maniacally, their antics causing their enemies to feel uncomfortably hot and itchy.
It's a hex with a casting value of 9+, range of 15 inches. Until your next start of turn subphase, the target enemy unit suffers a -D3 modifier to its toughness and initiative. -D3 toughness
Yes,
is
please.
nuts.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
It's
please.
really, really good. What's the casting value again?
9.
9
9.
with a 15-inch range.
Yeah, it's so good.
This is a your dragon is now dead spell. Like,
I mean, pretty much. It is so good. I mean, so first off, you might roll 1.
yes, -1 toughness is still a big deal.
Yeah, it's true. It goes from tough 6 to tough 5.
You're now wounding it on 5s with strength 4 or
Yeah.
3s with
Instead of
strength 6.
6s, right? Which is, yeah, because that's the thing you have to realize is as soon as you go from wounding something on 6s to wounding something on 5s, you're doubling the amount of wounds that you get through, right? It doesn't seem like much until you actually, write the math of it out. It actually doubles it. So, it makes a huge difference. And of course, when you roll that magical 3, it's going to be one of those days where you're like, oh. Of course, you'll roll it against freaking elves that are already T3 anyway. But
You can combine this. Oh, it also reduces their initiative, though, so you get to strike first.
yeah, maybe.
You can combine this with Spectral Doppelganger because it doesn't require you to take any specific lore because it's a faction lore.
That's right.
So you can take this and Spectral Doppelganger in order to get a ridiculous wallop as one-hit wonder Night Goblin Shaman.
I mean, it's already strength 10. It seems like overkill.
Sure. But like any other...
Against that dwarven guy with the toughness 10, it's like, I'll
Fuck
show
him
you.
specifically.
Unkillable, eh?
We'll see about that. I've got my unkillable Dwarf King. Oh yeah? Well, I got my Goblin who eats unkillable Dwarf Kings.
Broadsword.
5 Wrath. Anyway, Itchy Nuisance is great.
Shall we rate the Lore of Waaagh?
Yes, without Itchy Nuisance.
Yes. I actually think it's an A.
I agree. This is a really strong lore.
It's a strong lore, and you're just going to roll 4 dice and go, yep, I got those spells. The one that you may not want because of how you've built things, you're going to trade out for whatever particular...
Yeah. It's hard to say that any of these are particularly bad. I feel like if you're running a gun line, you trade out Here We Go. Or Here We Go, rather. If you're running a very fighty list, you could trade out Vindictive Glare if you guys on a big creature. Any of these are good though.
Yeah.
So the minimum size of a boy's unit is 10, isn't it? And goblins is usually 20.
I think everything is 10, and I don't think there's any 20 zombies, maybe? I don't know.
I don't know about zombies, but
The only reason I'm-
Nothing in the orcs and goblins list. They're all minimum 10.
Minimum 10, okay. Even the goblins, I could swear they're like,
I'm pretty sure.
for goblins,
Orc Mob's
big
actually
size.
5+.
Really?
Same as
Yeah,
Black
goblin mobs 10 plus.
Yeah.
10 plus, okay.
So the Horde units are all 10+ now. Everything else is 5.
Well, that's not too bad. I was only thinking if the minimum size unit was big enough, and these kind of feel like they're at least a little bit like area of effect spells, boosts and all that. Is the actual footprint of the army going to be a bit of an issue? Like, I do agree, it's definitely A+, but I'm thinking if you
I don't know
have
about
that
A+, but A is definitely
sorry, A, you know what I mean. is the actual footprint of the army going to be an issue where you don't want to have them so close that they're one of them gets destroyed and they panic the rest of them, but you also do want them to all be within range of all these lovely spells. So,
well, at the end of the day, the things that are going to panic are going to be your goblins, which aren't your fighty things. They're your wound counters.
And remember that if goblins get panicked
the
or
orcs don't
get destroyed, the orcs don't care.
Yeah.
And black orcs don't care about any of it.
Yeah.
So,
and if you've got black orcs, I think they have quell panic.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, the other thing is like the time when that is true, that will affect you, is when you're running a night goblin list, because they have terrible leadership and they don't have any black orcs to support them. But you've got a big guy on his Arachnarok that'll be at least a little bit inspiring, and you can bring a BSB to reroll things.
It's true.
And the unit has to be entirely wiped out in order to trigger panic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you've got 20 models in a unit, it's going to be different.
No, if they get if 25% of them are shot off,
Right, but to trigger panic in the units around them,
yeah,
it's getting destroyed.
or fled through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just don't position it behind each other.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be doing anyway.
Yep, I think this is an A as well. I've given a lot of things an A. I think I've given pretty much. Yeah.
Well, so I think what we should do, and maybe this is an exercise that we'll do offline and have it ready for the next episode. Let's kind of try and stack rank now that we've kind of graded them a bit, and I can't remember all the grades that I gave, and I didn't write them down.
Yeah.
We'll work it
But
out.
between now and then, I'll go back and look at the grades, and then we can argue it out on the Discord about kind of the order.
Yeah. It's going to be weird and difficult to rank Waaagh magic because it's such a weird lore to talk about in context of all the other lores.
I mean, it kind of is, but at the same time,
It's a good lore.
it's a good lore. I mean, put it this way: if other races could take it, would they take it? And the
Yes.
answer is probably yes for most of them.
If they only have access to elementalism and dark magic, for example, then definitely this would trump both of those.
Yeah. I think. Yeah. All right. So look, why don't we do that? Let's take that as an exercise we'll do for the next bug. We'll just briefly cover it in whatever we're doing in the next episode.
And a reminder, if you want to give your opinions on Schools of Magic and tell us why we're wrong, which we might very well be.
Yeah.
Tell us all the rules errors we've made.
Hop onto the Discord. We have loads of channels in there where people are talking every day. There's loads of stuff going on.
It's hard to keep up
So-
sometimes.
Yeah. So talk about your Art of War, your hobby horse,
Yep.
your tournament zone.
Exactly.
And I forgot what the others are called.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Come and join the Discord, and you'll learn them all.
Yes.
I think the Discord is a decent pace because the conversations in there are generally very kind of targeted about, here's my list. Can people give me feedback on it? What's this rule? How does it work? Right.
Yeah.
And we're sort of slowly figuring out the game and the meta all together. And I
Come do it with us.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, men. Rank up. We'll charge them in the flanks.
Alrighty, I think that about wraps things up.
Rats, Skaven, where?
It rats them up.
Skaven are not here because they are bad.
What a Skaven.
Yeah, they're not real.
Yeah.
Any closing points anyone wants to make?
I think we really just need to remind everybody to sign up for the GT, because that's kind of going to be my drum to beat for the next 6 weeks until the GT happens, August 3rd, 4th. If you're listening from somewhere that can travel to Dublin, and that includes pretty much everywhere in the UK, please do come visit us.
If you're listening in the future after this has already happened, sign up for the next one.
There's a ferry there's a couple of ferries that all just land over in Dublin. You can spend the weekend, have a bit of fun, roll some dice, drink some beers, and play some war dollies with us.
Yep. In terms of things to say, I recently learned that centaurs have 2 rib cages. So, if you're playing Beastmen, have a think about that. It's a fun little fact. And that's it from me.
I think with that we can close out the episode.
Wait a second. Does that mean female centaurs have 2 sets of nipples?
Okay, bye-bye.